NXT Championship and delivering show-stealing performances. His signature spear has become a fan favorite, making him a force to be reckoned with in the ring. Now, let's talk about the events leading up to this shocking moment. Tensions have been building between Bron Breakker and Triple H, who has been a pivotal figure in WWE's creative direction. As the chief content officer, Triple H has a vision for the future of WWE, and Breakker has been a key part of that vision. But things took a turn when Breakker felt undermined and disrespected. The animosity reached a boiling point during a recent live event, where Breakker confronted Triple H about his direction and treatment. The WWE Universe could sense that something big was about to happen. Then came the moment that left everyone in shock. During a segment that started as a typical promo, tensions escalated quickly. Breakker delivered a passionate speech about his place in WWE, but Triple H interrupted him, leading to a heated exchange. The atmosphere was electric, and you could feel the anticipation in the air. Out of nowhere, Bron Breakker unleashed a devastating spear that caught Triple H completely off guard. The impact echoed throughout the arena, and the WWE Universe erupted in disbelief. Fans couldn't believe their eyes as they witnessed one of the most shocking moments in modern wrestling history. The reaction from the crowd was instantaneous. Gasps, cheers, and even a few shocked expressions filled the arena. Social media exploded with reactions, as fans and wrestlers alike shared their disbelief. Some praised Breakker for standing up to Triple H, while others questioned the implications of such a bold move. Fellow wrestlers took to Twitter to express their thoughts. Some congratulated Breakker for his bravery, while others warned him about the consequences of attacking a figure like Triple H. The wrestling world was buzzing. After the spear, the fallout was immediate. Triple H was visibly shaken but managed to regain his composure. Backstage, the atmosphere was tense as officials scrambled to understand what had just happened. Would there be repercussions for Breakker? How would this affect Triple H's role in WWE moving forward? In the following weeks, Triple H addressed the locker room, emphasizing the importance of respect and the responsibilities that come with being a top figure in WWE. He made it clear that actions have consequences, and he would not tolerate such behavior. Bron Breakker didn't shy away from the controversy. In interviews following the incident, he expressed his feelings of frustration with the current direction of WWE. He emphasized that he was fighting for his place and his voice in the company. Breakker made it clear that he respects Triple H but felt compelled to take a stand. His determination to prove himself only intensified. Breakker went back to the training facility, honing his skills and preparing for the inevitable showdown with Triple H that everyone was anticipating. As the weeks rolled on, the WWE Universe was left on the edge of their seats. Speculation ran rampant about a potential match between Bron Breakker and Triple H. Would the chief content officer retaliate in the ring? The anticipation grew as both men prepared for what was sure to be a monumental clash. Fans took to social media to express their excitement and predictions. Would Breakker be able to hold his own against a seasoned veteran like Triple H? Or would the experience and cunning of Triple H prevail? The buzz was palpable, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The spear itself has become a symbol of Bron Breakker's determination and willingness to fight for his position in WWE. It's a move that represents not just physicality, but also the emotional stakes involved in the world of professional wrestling. Breakker's spear was not just an attack, it was a statement. A declaration that he is here to stay. Throughout wrestling history, there have been pivotal moments that have defined careers. Breakker's spear to Triple H may very well be one of those moments. It signifies a changing of the guard, a new era where younger talent is ready to challenge the established stars. To get a better understanding of the impact this moment had, we took to the streets, interviewing fans about their thoughts on Breakker's spear and its implications for WWE. The responses were overwhelmingly enthusiastic, with many expressing their excitement for the future of the company. Triple H is a legend, but I love that Breakker is not afraid to challenge authority. It's what wrestling needs. So, what does the future hold for Bron Breakker? With the entire WWE universe watching, he has an incredible opportunity to solidify his place in the company. If he can harness the momentum from this incident, he could rise to new heights and become one of WWE's top stars. Breakker's dedication to improving his craft is evident. He's been training harder than ever, focusing on new techniques and strategies that will prepare him for the challenges ahead. The wrestling world is eager to see how he evolves from this moment. On the other hand, what's next for Triple H? As a key figure in WWE, he has faced challenges before. The question now is how he will respond to this unprecedented attack. Will he seek retribution in the ring, or will he take a different approach to address the situation? Triple H has always been known for his strategic mind in the ring. Whatever his next move is, you can bet it will be calculated and impactful. Fans are eagerly awaiting his response, and it could lead to an epic showdown that will go down in history. This incident brings to light an essential theme in wrestling: respect. The relationship between established stars and newcomers is crucial for the industry's growth. While Bron Breakker's actions were bold, they also raised questions about how respect is earned in such a competitive environment. Legends have always emphasized the importance of earning respect through hard work and dedication. Breakker's journey is just beginning, and how he navigates this path will define his legacy. As we anticipate the showdown between Bron Breakker and Triple H, fans are buzzing with excitement. What type of match will it be? Will it be a standard match, or will they pull out all the stops in an extreme environment? The possibilities are endless, and the WWE Universe can't wait to see how it unfolds. This match has the potential to become an iconic moment in WWE history. The stakes are high, and the passion involved makes it even more compelling. Breakker vs. Triple H could be one for the ages. Thank you for joining us today on Wrestling Wildcard. The moment Bron Breakker delivered that devastating spear to Triple H will be remembered for years to come. It signifies a new chapter in WWE, where young talent is ready to rise up and challenge the status quo. What do you think about this shocking incident? How do you see the future unfolding for both Breakker and Triple H? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you want more in-depth wrestling analysis, subscribe for all the latest Wrestling Wildcard content, and hit that notification bell for updates on this evolving situation. Until next time, remember, in the world of wrestling, anything can happen, and the future is always bright for those willing to take a stand.
When I was a kid, my dad lost his income. Hard work, public housing, and food stamps moved us into the middle class. So every time Trump hurts working people, I fight back.
Raja for Senate, because underdogs fight harder.
Pierre Brioche is sacred, so please treat it with respect.
No.
Saint-Pierre, eat avec respect.
AI has disrupted so much. The old playbook of building an audience kind of isn't relevant anymore.
Everything has changed. Everything has changed. People are not buying benefits and features anymore. What they're actually buying now is... And that's why communities now are going to become way more important than ever before.
Chris Ducker. He's the founder of Youpreneur, one of the leading authorities on personal branding for experts. Chris has built multiple seven-figure businesses, and he has multiple best-selling books.
Be you, do your thing, but ultimately narrowing down that niche is going to be the best thing that you can do.
The biggest threat to your personal brand isn't AI or the competition, it's burnout.
That's a big, big problem right there that we need to deal with. And so really, if you feel tired, if you feel like you need a break, take the damn break. Self-care is not selfish at all. It's strategic.
The personal branding game is broken. AI can now write your content, edit your videos, and even mimic your voice. Algorithm-fed feeds mean people aren't even following creators anymore. They're just consuming what gets served to them. But here's what most creators don't realize. If you're still building your brand the old way, by sharing information and hoping for the best, you're about to get left behind, because the creators who survive aren't the ones with the best content anymore. Our guest today on the Think Media podcast is Chris Ducker, and he's been seeing this shift from miles away. And this isn't clickbait or hype. YouTube, online business, social media is being massively disrupted right now. We're going through a mega shift. And so if you want to protect your personal brand and online business in an age of AI, then lock in, because we're getting started right now. All right, Chris, welcome back to the podcast. I want to go 0 to 100 real quick and actually talk about how much disruption is happening right now because of competition, because of AI, because of algorithms. People are having trouble standing out. AI is making everybody sound the same, echo one another, and it's really kind of changed the personal branding game. The expert industry, how we communicate online, and the old playbook of sharing information and building an audience kind of isn't relevant anymore. And so I want to talk about how to protect your personal brand in the age of AI before the competition figures out what we're about to talk about. We've got 5 big topics that we're going to kind of riff on, and then actually a bonus topic, number 6, for part 2 of the conversation for really building a personal brand that lasts. But AI has disrupted so much. Number 1 that I wrote down is information is everywhere. Transformation is actually what people pay for. What is your thoughts on the fact that if you're an expert, you've been in this industry for a long time and you've watched it change. Now everybody though can have good information. What are your thoughts on this big idea, number 1?
I think you've hit the nail, very squarely on the head. Plain simple with this particular kind of this angle, so to speak, question wise, because I think that not only is information everywhere, it's always been everywhere, at least for the last kind of 10, 15 years or so. We know that, we've always kind of gone to Google and we said, how do I build a personal brand? And you've got, you get this huge list of lots and lots of different resources that you can go to. And over time, that's changed. It's gone from just being nothing but blog pages to, videos that we can read, to podcast episodes, or videos we can watch rather, podcast episodes we can tune into, even social prompts and social images and things like that. But now with AI taking over that results page as well, everything has changed. Everything has changed. And if I'm being really, really honest, I might show my age here a little bit, but if I'm being really, really honest, I kind of ignored AI for the first year. I didn't really pay much attention to it. I knew it was there. I knew it was brewing. I knew people were talking about it all the time. But it was one of those things, it's kind of like NFTs, like when NFTs were all the rage. Everyone kept asking me whether I was going to invest in NFTs. And I said, well, I'm not going to invest in anything I don't understand. And I don't understand NFTs, so I'm not going to buy anything. Very much the same thing with AI. Chris, what do you think about AI? I don't understand. I don't know much about it. And I would move on. But then slowly but surely my team kept coming at me and requesting that I look at things and spend time with things and try prompts out and all the rest of it. It was very, very clear to me that information's become even easier to get our hands on. I think, everything from digital courses to downloadable PDF workbooks, everything else that you can think of from a digital perspective is not necessarily irrelevant, but certainly we're up against the ropes a little bit when it comes to that side of things. And so really, the transformational side of selling and marketing comes to play more than ever before. People have always wanted transformations, right? You know that, I know that, anybody that's smart knows that, but there's always been a lot of fluff around, sales pages and offers and all that kind of stuff. But now you've got to get to it straight away. You've got to say, this is your problem. This is how the solution's going to come your way. I'm the person to give it to you. This is when you can expect it. This is what the investment is. Hit the button, sign up now. Let's get to work tomorrow, kind of thing. And it's exactly that. People are not buying benefits and features anymore, which is historically in the sales game what we've always really sold. What they're actually buying now is transformation.
Yeah, and I want to put a few more handles on that before we get to number 2. So what's common, or what we're sort of getting at here, if you agree with this, is like people can pursue information in ChatGPT, whatever their favorite AI is. They might get all kinds of different tips and tricks. But what happens to 99% of individuals listening to this, and ourselves included, is like, we might read books, but do we apply them? We might buy a course, but do we apply it? Do we actually get the results? And so the message being, like, if you can become known on your YouTube channel, on your podcast, in the products you deliver, coaching or courses that you deliver, that you ultimately are getting people to a result. A famous example is like, people don't buy, they buy the destination. They buy Hawaii. They buy sitting on the beach and enjoying that beverage. They don't buy TSA PreCheck and the person that has intense body odor they're sitting next to on the airplane, and actually the painful process to get there. But if what you're delivering, when people interact with your content, personal brands that will be protected in an age of AI are personal brands and experts that are just known like that individual gets people the end result. That person gets the result. And we know that also AI is ultimately insufficient for that, because what some people might be, well, like I can just watch your stuff, get some information, but yeah, are you getting the experience and the transformation and the mindset and all of that? Is that kind of what you think about this? Maybe even improving our offers. Half our audience would have an offer, but the other half, it's even just their content itself. If you're just a regurgitated list of ChatGPT points where I could have just got that there, but if the experience with your channel can actually transform me and bring me to the result that I actually want, then that's what is going to help you stand out going forward. Any additional thoughts before number 2?
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And that's where the community aspect, I know we're going to get to this in a minute, but that's where the community aspect comes into play. People don't just want to have that transformation. They want to have that transformation with other people at the same time. People who are going through a similar thing, or they're on a similar journey, or people that get it, plain and simple. And that's why communities now are going to become way more important than ever before. And to your second point here, I know that you're baited.
Yeah, let's unpack it. So I'll tee it up. So number 1, information is everywhere. Transformation is what people pay for with their time or with their watch time on YouTube, if they're getting transformation in your content. But the big idea, number 2, if you're going to protect yourself in an age of AI, creators who build real communities, entrepreneurs who build real communities will survive. Everyone else is just renting attention. I've noticed, besides expert industry, like we'd be talking about people who are solving specific problems,
Something new at Tropical Smoothie Cafe? Cheers to that. Our new Mango Monsoon and Tropical Dragon Passion smoothies take refreshing to a whole new level. Sipping superfruits has never been so fun. You're on Tropic time now.
Cracked windshield? Get it fixed now and pay later at safelight.com.
I didn't want to be seen as somebody who smoked, so I hid it. I hid my smoking when I worked with my tribe. I didn't talk about it with my doctor. I ate right, I exercised, I didn't want to be exposed. Here's my tip. When you're having open heart surgery, you can't hide the damage caused by smoking. Everyone in the room can see it.
You can quit. For free help, text QUIT NOW to 333-888.
specific problems. I think about Bear Performance Nutrition. Nick Bear just came on the Think Media podcast recently, and he sells supplements, but so does everybody. Like when it comes to creatine, protein, what he's built is a movement. What he's built is a community. What he's built is a certain set of values. What he's built is through social media and YouTube, a collection of individuals who are bought into an ethos, not just, again, into information. So maybe unpack this a little bit and even get tactical, because you've been actually doing this for years, but just algorithm-fed, interest-based content. One of the things that's happening right now, people are subscribing less. They're following less. They're just letting algorithms feed them content. I actually will find myself loving Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts, and I spend maybe too much time there, but I'm kind of just looking for entertainment. I get a little dopamine hit with a business piece of advice, whatever's coming my way, some viral trends. I'm trying to unpack and unwind. I am not following anybody. I'm just consuming what the algorithm brings me. That's fine. I might forward it. We're not even wanting to follow the creator. We're just, oh, that was so funny. You forward it to a couple friends. There's so much passive consumption. That's the opposite of actually building true connection and active participation. So what are your thoughts on what even a community means going into 2026 and how you've done that.
Yeah, I mean, this is why, you've known me for many, many years now, and the importance of building that personal brand has always been at the forefront of my message, right? Like literally from day dot. I think my first ever blog post went live in 2008, something like that, right? Podcasting since 2010. And I can genuinely say to you that this is where leaders of community, or people that want to build community, creators that want to turn into true business people, et cetera, they are now going to have to lean into what truly makes them unique more than ever before. It ain't enough just to say you're the Lego dad who's building Lego on his YouTube channel anymore. You've got to be the Lego dad who's on the YouTube channel building all the Lego sets, but is also doing it with, I don't know, facial tattoos, or with soul music from the 1960s playing in the background all the time. Or you've got to have something that stands out, something that ultimately allows you to market like a magnet. And when I say that, what I mean is at the same time as creating that content, publishing it, even if you're going live, whatever it is, you're being you at all time. This is the key here. You're being you at all time, at the exact same time as attracting the right people to hit that subscribe button and not just thumb through, their feed and skip over you after 3 seconds, but to attract the right people that are actually going to want to be part of your crew, part of your tribe. At the exact same time as that's happening, something pretty marvelous is happening. Something magical is going on. And what's happening is you are ultimately repelling the wrong people away. And that's the beginning of building a true community. So when we opened up the doors of the Youpreneur community in 2015, we had over 200 people join in the first 24 hours. And I attribute much of that very early success to Periscope, because Periscope was all the rage when it was going on. And I remember my first ever scope, as they were called. Man, what a great time that was, Sean. Can we just reflect for a minute? What a great time. But I remember my first ever live scope on Periscope was me with my arm out of a taxi on the Vegas Strip at night, and that was my first scope. But I instantly became addicted because of those darn hearts popping up on the screen. It was that dopamine hit of I'm putting something out into the world and people are loving it. And I went live every single day in the run-up for about 3 to 4 months of the run-up of Youpreneur when we opened it as a paid membership community, and 200 people joined within 24 hours. I knew that the bulk of those folks came from Periscope. And the reason why is because I was just me. I was being me on Periscope. People joined not necessarily because of the transformation they were going to get at that point, or because of all of the training that they were going to receive. They were joining because of me. Plain and simple. They liked my vibe. They wanted to be part of that tribe. And that's where the community aspect is now going to come into play. At the very forefront of everything is going to be the leader of those communities.
Before we go on to number 3, I like this because there's the action item of build a community, but you're saying the foundation of that is this going to be built around you. It's going to be around these distinctives. And if you try to say your distinctive is building Lego sets or teaching marketing or teaching business or teaching DIY homesteading, well, these days you're going to find thousands, if not tens of thousands of competitors.
Yeah.
So the difference being, well, what are your values and beliefs? What's your vibe? What do you look like? Like you mentioned, like tattoos, that's a real thing. Like if you have like a hard rock edge and tattoos and maybe more of a counterculture indie punk rock vibe, it's gonna be totally different than a classical music Jordan Peterson soundtrack. You're dressed in a 3-piece suit. Age is going to come into it. You're different. So what's interesting is I actually think this is an under talked about aspect of how we position ourselves online, even just how we show up on video. For you, like what have you found out when you think about how you've been different and you've just been you compared to the competitors that you've been running with over like the last 10 years?
Well, I think, for me personally, it came quite easy because I've always been me. What it says on the tin is what Chris does, right? And I'm actually 100% comfortable with the fact that not everybody likes me. I'm fine with that. I don't want everyone to. First and foremost, I don't need any more friends. I've got more than enough friends. Secondly, I'm a very, very successful entrepreneur. I've made a lot of money. I've employed thousands of people, and I've got nothing to prove to no one. So when I pull out advice of 22, almost 23 years of entrepreneurship, and I give that to people, they're either going to pick up what I'm putting down, or they're just going to ignore it entirely and walk by. And I'm absolutely fine with that. So I think that, for some other people, it might not come so easy. I recently just met a guy at a conference, and he had yellow framed glasses on, big, like Elton John glasses, right? From like 76 or something, right? I remember saying to him, like, do you wear these glasses like all the time? He said, oh no, it's only when I'm at conferences and things like that. So I stand out so people remember meeting me. And I said, man, you should be wearing them every single day for that exact reason. Why are you not wearing them in every video, every social post, everything you do? And now he's actually doing it. He's put those glasses in the logo on his website now. So he's gone all in on the glasses because it's memorable, you see. So it doesn't have to be a huge thing. It can be relatively subtle, like a pair of glasses, or, the fact that you backlight your entire set bright pink or something. Like, it's just got to be something that is memorable enough for someone to connect to you almost instantly.
And this kind of ties into number 3. So creators who build real communities, number 2, will survive. Everyone else is just renting attention. Number 3, how someone feels interacting with your brand matters more than what you actually teach. Again, because there's 100, 1,000 other people teaching what you teach. Now, we could talk about there being distinctives about the fact that we could develop proprietary processes or different methodology of getting to the end goal. What you teach might be the same, how you teach could be different, and why you teach it could even be radically different. So every listener should be answering those questions. But this feels thing is something that I've been processing lately, and this idea of experience. I think that the experience someone has with your brand, let me put it this way, your brand experience is your product. It's not just your content, it's not just your YouTube channel, it's not your social media vertical videos or your courses. People don't just buy what you know, they buy how it feels to be around you. And so whether that's authenticity, and as kind of an interesting revelation of this not just being like a 2026, 2027 thing, the CXO role, Chief Experience Officer, showed up in the New York Times in 2006. And people thought it was unconventional, wacky. Like, what's a Chief Experience Officer? That's ridiculous. Like, that's a C-suite role? Like, what are we talking about? 35% of companies didn't have this role in 2017, but by 2020, 90% of organizations have a CXO. And so the reason this matters for even brand new creators or established creators is this role literally didn't exist 20 years ago because companies just sold products, but now experience is the product. And so for a YouTube creator, a personal brand, it's a question that maybe people are asking for the first time. Well, what do you even mean? I haven't ever thought about that, but they need to be the chief experience officer for their own YouTube channel, their own brand. What are your thoughts on that? On AI can replicate information, but it can't replicate the feeling that people have when they're watching your content.
Yeah, this reminds me back in about 2012, 2013, I got together with a bunch of friends when I was over in the US speaking at an event. There was Pat Flynn was there, guys that you've had on the show before, Pat Flynn, Amy Porterfield, host of other guys. And we were talking about live events because we were in Portland for the World Domination Summit with Chris Gillibo. And we were talking about live events and how they were so few and far between back in those days that there just wasn't enough for us to see each other regularly like we wanted to. And these virtual summits had become all the rage, right? Where you kind of convince 7, 8 people to, pre-record an interview with you or something like that. And they would run it over a day or two or something. And they were becoming really, really big business. A lot of people in the industry were doing them, regardless of what niches they were serving, what their primary form of published content was, whether it was a blog or a podcast or YouTube or whatever it was. And somebody said, you should do one, Chris. Like, you know all these great people. Like, why don't you get them together for this thing? It'd be great. And I said, well, why not just do it in person? Who wants to sit at a computer all day long like everyone else is doing? And this was like 2013, 2014 at the time. So I decided that I was going to do just that. And so we actually put together the first tropical think tank event, which was a very, very different event at the time that we did it for the first time in 2014. It was based entirely on experience. There was yoga in the morning, there was snorkeling in the afternoon, there was island hopping and white parties on the beach at sunset and all these amazing activities. Oh yeah, and we threw a little bit of business coaching in there as well with all these amazing people that flew over. People still talk to me about those events.
New Gain Tango Scent Boosters. With two irresistible scents coming together, you can't help but dance. Oh wow, that's fresh. New Gain Tango Scent Boosters. More scent, more joy.
Subway's protein-packed footlongs are the perfect way to fill up for your day. Like the All-American Club or the Ultimate BMT. Okay, zoom in. Whoa, that's 54 grams of protein. And now, buy any footlong in the app, get another half off. Order now on the Subway app.
You better not be using all the Old Spice.
Dear unbreakable spirit, you roam on paths called impossible. Own a legend. Toyota Trucks. Toyota. Let's go places.
People ended up going into business together at those events, and never would have happened if it had been virtual or if it had been curated by a bloody robot or something like that. So, I think the idea of inviting, ultimately opening up the kimono, to use a popular colloquialism, right? And inviting people into your world, inviting them in a way that says, hey, not only do I want to help you, but I want to help you along with other people as well. And I want you to be part of something special that we're building here. That is where that community feeling really comes into play again. And you couple that together with the strength of building in experience and really making it different. You can't, it's almost like a license to change lives. And that's exactly what you do when you do it. And if you do it well, you get to make a whole bunch of money and serve a whole bunch of people at the same time. And there's nothing wrong with any of that.
Yeah, and I really agree with you that in this digital world, I think they never went away. And there was obviously kind of the pandemic era. But in an online world, offline experience is so crucial. Real relationships, or bringing it to, even if you could get on FaceTime or Zoom, is different than just kind of a one-way experience where you can see individuals. But also for a lot of listeners, while they might have limited resources and they're not at a place where the in-person thing, or they may not be shipping products. Like I think about brand experience when you open up a box of a particular brand and there's language inside of it. Like sometimes what brands are curating and the CXO is curating is every touch point with the brand. But if we were to keep it in the digital, if you thought about like your YouTube thumbnails as your storefront experience, or your video opening has a feel to it, that's your customer onboarding experience. The way your tone and comments that you reply, your email newsletters, and then even your delivery of your products. Many people here are creating offers, or they're inviting people into a Patreon or a membership community. But if all you're doing is posting, again, more information there, you're going to lose. Like you're going to lose to AI, you're going to lose. But how does it feel interacting with you? For those online, have you seen if you're cultivating, if you were limited by the constraints of I'm an at-home creator, filming like we are in our home studios, and trying to think about, I want the experience with my brand to feel different. What are some thoughts?
Well, so we really had to think about this a lot in April of 2020, because we had always done everything in person. I really did not like doing anything online. It's just not my jam at all. I'm too old-fashioned, quite frankly. But we were forced into that situation with the pandemic. And so I remember thinking to myself, well, what am I going to do to bring the same kind of energy that I would usually bring to an in-person event, where people can feel like, you know, they're still getting what they paid for when they signed up for this thing that was supposed to be in person all the time. What can we do? So we did a whole bunch of things. So first and foremost, we shipped the swag bag to everybody prior to the event taking place. That was huge. That gave us so much social proof and social love, even before the event even started. Like, oh my God, what a great idea that was. So we did that first and foremost. The second thing we did is we had all of our speakers that would have been there in person in a pop-up Facebook group for the week prior, and every day they would go in. I mean, you know, fair play to them. They did a phenomenal job at showing up for me and my community. They were doing me a favor, plain and simple, because they wouldn't have had to hang out for a whole week if they'd have just done the 2-day event, right? And so we had those guys coming, and everybody loved the fact that they could converse with these speakers freely in an environment that they felt really comfortable with, you know? And then what I did is I dressed exactly the same way as I would have done if I'd have been on stage. I put on the tie and the waistcoat, and we played loud, you know, funk music and the blues at the break times and all these things that we always do at my events. And we had so many people say to us by the end of that first day, you guys have nailed it. You know, you nailed it. Like, we really do feel like we're still in the same room. And that was the whole point. So I think it just comes down to like going the extra mile and not just resting on your laurels, you know?
That's some brilliant prompts for listeners. What kind of music actually would really represent your brand and give the right energy, vibe, and feel? How could you dress or being authentic, but be showing up on camera to give a different experience? What could you ship? Maybe it's as easy as shipping a postcard or something that's very affordable to a certain inner group. And pulling conversations into groups these days, Discord, all these different places. We're talking about basically how to recession-proof your brand, how to AI-proof your brand. This might be stretching your thinking, Think Media Podcast, as it should be, because again, information is becoming common, but transformation, community, how it feels interacting with you, which is experience. Basically, number 1 is transformation, number 2 is community, number 3 is experience, which brings us to number 4, which is going narrow beats going broad. Own a small space rather than competing against a big one. And a lot of these were inspired. I was watching one of your recent videos on your YouTube channel about the trends you see going forward for the expert industry, those that are thoughtpreneurs, thought leaders, infopreneurs, personal brands, those that want to build online, build a business. And you mentioned this. This is a huge debate. Do I niche down? Do I not niche down? What does niching look like now? But this is a quote coming straight from you. Going narrow, you know, is something you want to be thoughtful about. What do you think that looks like today and going forward?
You know, I don't think it looks a whole lot different, if I'm honest with you. Like, the idea of niching down is nothing new at all. We've been talking about it for a long time, particularly in the format of creating content and being found for search terms and all that kind of stuff, right? It's just it's a very simple way to imagine getting a room full of your dream clients, your dream subscribers, your dream followers or fans. If you try and be everything to everyone, that will never, ever happen, right? So instead of saying, well, I'm a health coach, say that you're a health coach that works exclusively with men. Instead of saying that, you could say, well, I'm a health coach that works with men in their 40s and 50s. Okay, now we're starting to go a little more narrow. Right? Instead of saying that, you could say, I'm a health coach that works with men in their 40s and 50s who are recovering from a major surgery. Oh, are you serious? If I've just gone through a major surgery, I am ready right now to spend money with you. Please give me an offer. I'm like, it's the easiest sale of in the history of selling, right? But the other thing is also this: when you go narrow and you go after owning a little space of a rather larger audience or a larger industry, what happens is the language that you use enables you to be a lot clearer in your messaging with the people that you're trying to attract into your ecosystem. If I'm a guy who is working with 40s and 50-year-old men who are recovering from major surgery, the language I use, the words I use, the thought process I use is going to just nail that prospect or that avatar so much easier. It's just going to be picked up so much quicker. So for me personally, always niche down. Always niche down. You'll never be able to please all the people, so don't even bother trying to...
With hotels and vacation rentals, Booking.com has something for everyone.
Seashells! You got anything more boutique?
Oui, right this way.
Now we're talking.
What about something more family friendly?
Maybe a resort with a water park?
Or somewhere less family friendly?
Yep, one Vegas hotel for the bride-to-be.
What if we hate everything?
We have free cancellation. Find exactly what you're booking for. Booking.com, Booking.com.
Refreshing when things fit just right, like your auto insurance.
USAA! Thanks for coming in. We are huge fans.
So what did you think of the script?
Okay.
Great. Just give us a bite and smile, and we're done.
Oh, my.
Lube's fast 15-minute oil change service is even faster than Joey Logano zipping around.
Ow. Shoot.
Jiffy Lube.
So when you talk about niche down, it makes it clear this is going to connect to the vehicle with which, or the way in which you transform an audience, identifying an audience. Men in their 50s who are trying to get their health back that have recently gone through a surgery. So you've now developed fierce clarity on who you serve, and then you have a process that'll lead to transformation for that individual. But I'm curious your take on whether you agree or you disagree with Alex Hormozi and Gary Vaynerchuk's claim that you are the niche. And by definition, what they mean is that your unique combination of interests, values, personality, and perspective is the niche. And that if you're documenting your journey, and I think where people get hung up is they're like, okay, should I be posting how I can hack Chipotle and get double protein without having to pay for it like Alex Hormozi? Should I be talking about wine and NFTs and crypto and business and social and sneakers? And people they're like, okay, if I'm doing random stuff, and this is a big ongoing debate, is that algorithmically, if I'm, you talk about being you. So essentially, what are your thoughts on that sort of headline that them and many others have echoed, and how that maybe ties in, or maybe you disagree with how that ties into owning a niche in your business and also kind of sharing random things about your quirks and your story on social media?
I am going to agree and disagree. If I can do that, if you'll allow me to do that. The reason why I say this is because I will stand by my comments earlier on where I mentioned, people will buy you. They will buy you 9 times out of 10 before they buy whatever it is that you're trying to sell, right? So let's just get that very, very clear right out of the gate. But I do disagree with the fact that you shouldn't pick a niche. You shouldn't pick necessarily a prospect or an avatar to serve. I think that's a bad move, particularly in today's world where we're just absolutely bamboozled at every available opportunity from one thing or another online. And the way we consume our content now is very, very, very different to the way we consumed our content 5 or even 10 years ago, right? So I think that ultimately, yes, lean into you and your quirks and things like that. Like you mentioned the bonsai tree thing. A lot of people know that I practice bonsai. In fact, when Lego released their bonsai botanical set, I got 4 of the things sent to me from random people. So, it just goes to show you, people are listening to the quirks. They connect to the quirks, but you shouldn't necessarily place your entire marketing system around it. No way. Absolutely not.
And to give you context, Think Media Podcast, right before Chris jumped on, I mentioned, he's looking good. He's looking vibrant. He looks healthy. He looks rested, probably because he's been trimming his bonsai trees. And that just is, while I know him as this marketing expert, this personal brand expert, the author of and founder of this Youpreneur community, that those little quirks around your story, I think you articulated it great. It's like both are right, and people are trying to say, I'm confused because of what these people over here are saying versus what somebody over here is saying, and your answer is like, it's not either or, it's both. In fact, this really ties into number 5. Your personality and story are the only things AI can't copy. So it doesn't mean you don't pick a niche. It doesn't mean you don't have an avatar, a target audience. That by definition of entrepreneurship, actually you kind of have to have those things. It'd be called your unique, USP. But what was the other one I heard the other day? I was at YPO in Miami, and somebody used another, marketing term that was like just basically who's your target customer, who is your unique customer, your ideal customer, and that's what a business has. A business has a product for that solves a specific problem, and has a market that they're targeting. But it brings us to number 5: your personality, your story, and the only are the things AI can't copy. Yeah. So we've kind of touched on this, but is there any other thoughts that if creators are going to, and entrepreneurs are going to last, maybe weaving in more of these things and how that might show up in their content?
Yeah, I just think, again, be you, do your thing, be quirky, add all that stuff in there, but ultimately narrowing down that niche is going to be the best thing that you can do. I'll give you a perfect example. Just very recently, I got more and more interested in wildlife photography, very specifically with birds. And so I wanted to upgrade my camera. My camera was old. I knew I needed a longer lens to be able to get closer to the subjects and things like that. And I looked at a whole bunch of different reviews online. I watched a whole bunch of different YouTubers and all the rest of it. And I ended up picking an OM system, or an Olympic system. And the reason why I went with Olympus was because one particular wildlife photographer that I had been consuming on YouTube offers the opportunity to work with her one-on-one, to dial your settings in, to learn how to use the system properly, to learn what lens is best for what, scenario, et cetera, et cetera. So not only did I go ahead and buy a brand new camera, a brand new lens, but I also booked an entire day with her and traveled up to the Peak District in England, 5-hour drive, almost 5-hour drive, to spend the day with her to learn how to use it all. I came back, went out to a nature reserve and started getting incredible photos right out of the gate. There was no real learning curve at all. Now, I could have gone to Canon, I could have gone to Sony, I could have gone to Nikon, or whatever it is, but I went with OM because of her, because I got her vibe and I wanted to work with her on becoming better at what I wanted to do. So it just goes to show you, people will make moves based on who you are and what you do and how you do it.
Man, that's so strong. Her vibe, plus the niche problem you had once you had committed to that brand of camera, became ultimately you becoming a customer and having this great experience, and then also getting transformation and results. Now you have confidence, you're getting great, photos, you love the investment that you made because you left now knowing how to use your camera and set up at a whole nother level.
The thing for her, Sean, this was the really big thing, man. She's in a very, very, very crowded niche. You type in wildlife photography YouTuber, you're going to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people to choose from. What she did was pick OM system. She's only doing stuff for OM system, and that's what stood out to me. She was all in on that one particular system, that one particular camera.
Powerful way of going narrow. And I do remember the term. It was funny because I'm sitting with Nathan, the founder of ConvertKit, now Kit, and Eric Sue, and all these legends who just talk marketing, and they go, hey, what's your ICP? And I'm about to celebrate 10 years in business here at Think Media. I think I'm a decent marketer. Been doing YouTube for 20 years almost now. And I'm like, Insane Clown Posse? What's ICP mean? That shows where I grew up, Whoop, whoop. I grew up kind of in the rural farm ghetto where you got ICP people walking around. Only the real ones listen to this know. And then they're like, your ideal customer profile. I'm like, oh, like your avatar. So ICP was your ideal customer profile. Knowing what your niche and your brand is, but then infusing your story and personality. Here's the bottom line, Think Media Podcast. AI cannot copy your story, your experiences, your vibe, your personality. If you want to protect your brand going forward in an age of AI, these are the things you need to figure out before your competition figures them out. But we mentioned a bonus tip number 6, which is really kind of the second half of this conversation, which is something that most creators miss. And even if you nail all 5 of the first strategies, you can still lose everything, because the 6th pillar isn't about your content or about community. It's actually about you. The biggest threat to your personal brand isn't AI or the competition. It's burnout. It's mental or emotional mastery, because if you break down and quit, it's over. Really, it's just over. Like if you stop posting because you're overwhelmed, if you implode as a leader, then you're ultimately not going to survive over the long term. I remember Steve Jobs said something that was like a quote, that business is a game of attrition, that if you just stay in this for long enough, YouTube's a game of attrition. If you're just still here, not just after 1 year, but after 4 years, if you're just still here after 8 years, maybe even right now, practically your competition's like way better than you, and like you're like, I feel like I can't compete. Well, if you just don't quit, they might burn out. They might retire. There's been massive people saying, there's the negative side of it, but massive people burning out in YouTube, but kind of retiring. Like burnout's extreme because the creator economy is kind of a grind. And some of them are like, yeah, I'm done. I'm stopping uploading. I just think about, we just got news recently. We had editors reaching out to us, like really established, successful YouTube creators doing very well. They're like, yeah, well, I'm done. And not necessarily in a negative way. Maybe if they had some of your tips, they could have lasted, but they're set, they're done. So there's a disruption that people, a lot of times in this world, they're coming and going and they're not going to last. Are you a business owner or serious content creator that is struggling to crack the YouTube code? Are you feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or just plain frustrated with slow growth? If so, then our new one-on-one coaching program at viralvideocoach.com is your premier ticket to YouTube success. Becoming the authority in your niche, attracting engaged leads and loyal customers. We offer one-to-one coaching with our YouTube experts that'll help you get results fast, and a supportive community that's cheering you on. So if you're ready to stop wasting time with trial and error and to stop leaving money on the table, then head to viralvideocoach.com to apply to see if you qualify for our coaching program. But heads up, this offer is not for everybody. It's only for serious content creators and entrepreneurs that are ready to take action. So if that's you, head to viralvideocoach.com to apply, or click the link in the show notes. All right, let's jump back into the episode. I want to talk about some of the principles from your new book. You wrote The Long Haul Leader, 10 strategies to work smarter, live better, and achieve lasting success. And that sort of most important foundational tip number 6 is that, having those foundational pieces in your life are going to be key. So I wrote down some questions. These are pulled from some of the chapters of your book. You identify some of these big problems. One is the pace problem. You talk about setting the right pace. A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of creators are sprinting when they should be marathon running. So what are your thoughts on this big idea of pace?
Yeah, look, I think busy is a bit of a trap, right? Because I'm so busy. Oh, I'm so busy right now. Thing is, it shouldn't be about being busy. It should be about making impact. And impact is the target. That's exactly what it should be. Being busy is not what you want to be. You want to be just creating impact. And so I think the easy way to look at it is like anybody can fill a calendar with stuff to do, right? But very few people will create meaningful results out of the work they do. That's just brutal reality. So the very idea of not confusing motion with momentum is at the core message of long haul leadership. And the fact is that too many people are burning out. There was a recent study that was done, which was featured in Forbes, which said that 68% of entrepreneurs experience burnout. 68%, which is pretty crazy. And that's increased to 78% since the pandemic.
Rolling in the mud? Tide Pods can handle it. Spaghetti night? Tide Pods can handle it. Stains are certain. So is the power of Tide. With 50% more cleaning power, it's got to be Tide.
Free Ultra when Tiny Pill a Day delivers triple action support. Move free. Joint health starts today. For the whole family, Safety Plus. The Mazda CX-90. Discover more at the Mazda Summer Sales Event. Current inventory remains unaffected by new tariffs.
Take advantage of one of these exceptional offers during the More to Move You sales event.
8% since the pandemic. So if we're talking about almost 80% of our entrepreneurs and creators should be looking at themselves as entrepreneurs, right? It's great that you want to create great content and put it out into the world, but ultimately, unless you start making money from it, you don't have a job, you don't have a side hustle, you don't have a career. What you got is a hobby. And if there's nothing wrong with that, if that's what you want to do and you enjoy doing it as a hobby, that's fine. But if you want to start making money as a creator, you've got to start thinking like an entrepreneur, plain and simple. So if 80% of our entrepreneurs or thereabouts are burnt out, that's a big problem right there that we need to deal with. You couple that together with the fact that 30% of those people will end up in some way, shape, or form dealing with depression and anxiety, like I have. In 2021, I hit a burnout, and I didn't see it coming at all. And we had an amazing business year in 2021. We crushed 2021, and I was doing amazing work, and I was loving every single minute of it. I genuinely was loving everything we were doing. But the fact of the matter is, I was doing too much. Doing way too much, and ended up hitting a brick wall ultimately, and I was actually diagnosed with anxiety, depression, and acute phase 3 adrenal failure. So my adrenal glands, which are these two little glands sit on top of your kidneys, they create cortisol, which is our stress hormone. And a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with this. It's not just me. A lot of entrepreneurs struggle with this fight or flight scenario that pops up quite a lot during the course of their day. Or there's a fire, I've got to put that fire out. Or there's a problem with our website, I got to get that fixed. Or I got to get on a plane to go somewhere to speak, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so what happened with my cortisol production was it flatlined. So I couldn't handle stress anymore, which meant I got more and more stressed, and more stressed I got even more stressed. And eventually I end up just burning out entirely, right? And so the thing is, what we've got to understand and really kind of like, I guess, almost with open arms, and it's a little harder for people in the earlier part, the infancy of their journey, building something, is that you've got to understand that you don't have to break to justify a break. If you feel tired, if you feel like you need a break, take the damn break. Don't try and power through it, because you might be able to do it once, you might be able to do it twice. You ain't going to be able to do it 3 times. It's very, very hard to do that. So if you want to build something that lasts, you need to last as well. And that's where self-care comes into it. And for me, the big thing for me was that, and this was a big shift for me, all the work that I did, all of the inner work, the working with nutritionists and a PT and a functional medicine doctor to get my kind of bloods sorted and all that kind of stuff. Like what I really understood, or what I really understand now, is that self-care and putting myself first actually is not selfish at all. It's strategic. It's strategic. It's strategy number 1. Because if Chris isn't in good shape, if Chris doesn't have the energy, he's no good to anybody, you know?
There's this massive, there's kind of been a correction to it, but let's talk about this hustle culture as we're talking about pace. Because I'm curious, your thoughts, some of the leading voices, I think Kevin O'Leary from was he on Shark Tank? Or just known for...
Oh, he was. He was on Shark Tank earlier on. Yeah.
We've seen Kevin O'Leary. We've seen Alex Hormozi. We've seen people saying if you want to... I think I've said this on social media. I borrowed the quote from maybe Anonymous, but it was, if you want to buy things without looking at the price, you need to work without looking at the clock.
Ouch.
You know, that kind of energy. But and then you saw Gary Vee. He got shredded in the media for a while, and he's kind of corrected. And maybe it's also about setting ambitions. I saw Patrick Bet-David recently reacting to somebody that's building a unicorn that is on their way to do there, meaning $1 billion valuation company. And they said, he goes, I work 7 days a week. I have for years. And he said, if you're building a unicorn, it's 7 days a week. Kevin O'Leary said, like, you got to work your face off. Bill Gates said that too. He's like, I didn't take a vacation for 10 years or something like that. So I know that, not everybody, like, they're like, I'm just trying to build like a, 6-figure side hustle here on YouTube, or, like there's different levels of ambition. But what is your take on these mixed messages that we're getting, that if you're actually going to be, I think there's just a lot of pressure, because it's like, if you just said take a break. And sometimes we can feel anxiety as type-driven people, because we're like, yeah, but someone's hustling and they're working while I'm sleeping. How do you wrestle with this, and how do you maybe be anchored in this like major debate that is happening in the entrepreneur space, content creator space?
I think the thing is that when I was younger, I felt like that too. Right? Oh man, if I'm not working, then what am I doing? Like, my competitors are working, my competitors are writing blog posts, my competitors are recording podcasts. We're only talking 14, 15 years ago now, right? So I get it entirely. I think hustle is not a bad thing. Let me clarify that. We will all need to hustle at some point. It's inevitable. Whether there's just a deadline to a project that we're working on, or there is a specific date that we need to, launch a brand new offer, or maybe there's, an opportunity and we've got to drop everything. We've got to fly to the other side of the world for a week, or whatever it is. We will always have times when we have to put a foot down on the accelerator a little bit. But I think what I'm trying to get across here, above and beyond everything else, is that it is not sustainable to expect to be around for the long haul and to be all out all the time. Hustle is a season. It's not a lifestyle. Don't buy into the lifestyle thing at all. And I'm not surprised that Gary got some flack over it, because that was his whole thing for like a decade, right? And I've hung out with Gary, as you well know. We've hung out, right? Like on multiple occasions. And I'm like, how you doing? Oh, man, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Just talking to the guy exhausts me. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean I don't respect him for what he's doing and what he's done and what he's planning on doing in the future. All I know is that burnout is not a badge of honor. It's a warning sign that you've been doing things wrong, and you should pay attention to it as and when it comes your way. But yeah, the hustle culture thing, man, it's not a bad thing. It's okay. But you got to do it in little bits. Like you say, you run a marathon very, very differently to the way you run a sprint.
In chapter 5, you talk about energy as a currency, and you have a whole chapter called Upgrade Your Batteries. So why do you think and propose that energy management is actually more important than time management for long-term success?
Yeah, we did a lot of research on this, actually. I will say, this is my 3rd book. I did more research in this book than my other 2 books combined, because I wanted to make sure that I got this stuff right. I didn't just want to do nothing but World According to Chris, right? And so what we found, actually, that time, when it comes to real, like, hardcore successful people, time is not seen as their most valuable commodity or most valuable asset. It's actually their energy levels. So it comes down to things like planning recovery type of activities within your working week, as well as on your weekend as well. So we actually did something really fun on the subject of hobbies and pastimes. And there was one particular thing that I talk about in the book, and it came out and I just couldn't believe it at the time. But the CEO of Goldman Sachs is a guy named David Solomon. David Solomon has a really cool hobby, David Solomon, when he's in hobby mode, is called DJ D-Sol. And he is one of the most hardest to get, sought after disco and dance like DJs, right? Like he does parties and festivals and all the rest of it. When I found this out, I was like, hold on, wait a minute.
My mints!
Jen loved her Gain flings. Then Brad showed up with Gain rinse and beads. When they mixed their scents, they discovered they were scent mates. Smells like it's gonna last. Mix, match, more happy with Gain.
Want to take the next step with Entivio? Then it's time to talk to your healthcare provider. With Entivio, you may be able to pay as little as $5 per dose. Plus, our team can help connect you with additional support programs.
Entivio, Entivio, Entivio.
Dear unbreakable spirit, you roam on paths called impossible. Own a legend. Toyota Trucks. Toyota. Let's go places.
USAA for homeowners who like being ready. That's why we have safety tips for things like fires, home security, and USAA insurance just in case. USAA. What you're made of, we're made for. USAA!
From Goldman Sachs has got a hobby like that, then there's no reason why any of us can't have a hobby, as far as I'm concerned. So I dive deeper into this, and I find out that very particularly from an entrepreneurial perspective, you can increase your productivity and performance by as much as 30% by engaging in a creative hobby of some kind, like DJing, painting, trimming bonsai trees, whatever it is. You can increase your performance by almost 30% by doing that for a minimum of 2 hours a week, which is pretty telling.
This is a major epiphany. One, I looked up, so David Solomon Music, 56,000 followers on Instagram, CEO, dad, music fan, DJ since 2015. All the proceeds go to charitable institutions. He doesn't need money. But that is such a cool example. And I think, listeners are probably stuck in two camps. One is they might just get into grind mode, or maybe they haven't cultivated and found their hobby. I think some are probably like, they're feeling affirmed because they're like, yeah, you should go play basketball, or you should be playing pickleball, or you should. What have maybe you learned? I mean, yeah. So you're developing a nature reserve. Is that your house?
Yeah. I mean, nothing says midlife crisis, right? Than either. I think the way, and this is the way I I discussed it with my wife, who you obviously met. I said to her, "Honey, I'm thinking of buying this piece of land," and she said, "Well, like why? Like, what are we going to build on it? Like, what's the deal?" Kind of thing. I said, "No, I'm just going to turn it back over to nature. I'm going to do basically nothing." And she said, "What?" I said, "Well, look, I think I might be having a midlife crisis, but it's either I'm buying a piece of land to turn it over to birds and badgers, or I could go get a girlfriend in a Lamborghini. I'm not sure which one you're going to be hot on, but I'm going more towards the birds and the badgers myself personally." And so, yeah, that's what we're doing. We're actually buying the land right now. We're in the process of finalizing the sale or the purchase. And I am going to do exactly that. I'm going to turn the land over to nature. I'm going to do everything I can to attract as much wildlife to the land as I possibly can. And I'm building it for the future generations of my family. In fact, we've actually already named it the Legacy Nature Reserve, and that's going to be part of that legacy play, right? Which we actually talk about in the book as well, in terms of leaving a lasting legacy of positive thinking and just positive life lessons through the work that we do as leaders and the people that we work with and all that kind of stuff. So, we can joke about it a little bit, and I have been, trust me, but I think the overarching kind of lesson here is that if you've got something fun, something that lights you up, something that's got real, genuine motivation plugged behind it, that you can look forward to, that you schedule, that you make time for, that cannot be a bad thing for your lifestyle. It just cannot. And it's one of the reasons why every October I have a team meeting where we plan out the entirety of next year's calendar. We've done this for about 7 or 8 years now. And I rock up to that team meeting with our calendar already preloaded with all of our family sabbatical trips, all of the couple trips that me and hers go on each year. We go on 3 different trips each year, just the two of us. all of the kiddie stuff. I do trips with my kids each year as well, individually. Like, all of that is preloaded onto the calendar so that my team knows when I'm available for work. So I'm putting that first. Like, that's priority number one for me. Anyone else can do the same. I appreciate, obviously, that I'm in a situation where I can kind of pick and choose when I work and don't work. Many people are not. But, you know, you can still plan out your vacation time way ahead of time and get that into HR and get that locked in, so you know exactly what you're doing when you're doing to recover. Because the recovery score thing is real. It's not just on your Whoop band, right? Like, the recovery score is absolutely real. And we want to make sure that we are putting ourselves first when it comes to our recovery.
That's really strong. We got to go to the next point, but I have some big takeaways. And one, I think the action item of, like, every week engaging in 2 hours at least of a fun hobby or a hobby of some kind. And the mindset shift needed for probably a few people listening, like myself, is that actually your YouTube videos are going to be better as a result. You're going to be more creative as a result. You're going to have less stress as a result. You're going to be able to last over the long haul, but also this is a competitive edge. The competitive edge of you're paid and rewarded based on the quality of your ideas, not on the quality of whatever chat prompt you can put into ChatGPT and sound like everybody else. So you getting out and being human and getting your brain recovered. And this is a conversation for a whole other time, but, you know, I have an entrepreneur friend who's built an 8-figure company up. We actually meet almost weekly at Abanya, a European steam bath about 15 minutes from my house. You have the sauna, the cold plunge, the red light therapy room, the jacuzzi, and a steam room. And you rotate through there. We hang out. We're, you know, hot, cold, which has so many benefits. It's active recovery. But we talk about HRV all the time. I have not got a Whoop band yet, but he's talking about, like, HRV, which, just for a topic for some listeners, that's one way that you're measuring your recovery. And so the conversation for another time, but you could research that a little bit. Recovery score. This matters. This idea of not just being on, but also recovering well is your insurance to be built to last and be a long haul leader. Now, just a couple more questions. I want to touch on a few more chapters, but we will make sure to link up in the show notes. And I want to encourage you, if you're listening to this, grab a copy of the book, The Long Haul Leader, 10 Strategies to Work Smarter, Live Better, and Achieve Lasting Success. If you've listened to Think Media Podcast for any length of time, you probably know that one of our core values at Think Media, out of our 7 core values, is built to last. I couldn't be more excited about the book because it's the under-shared message. It's the under-talked about message. People are chasing tactics and they're chasing growth, and that matters, because if you don't get that, then you're not in business. They're chasing sales, they're chasing, marketing and all this different stuff. But it's like, if you're not here in 5 to 10 years, what's more important, is just having a 15 minutes of social media fame or YouTube fame, or just having a year or two of success, or stacking decades when it comes to your career, your impact, your family. So pick up a copy of the book. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the other things in it later, but I want to touch on a few more questions I had from the chapters. One chapter is on focus amplification, and you say you get more of what you focus on. In a world of infinite distractions, you say that long-haul leaders actually maintain focus on what matters. Now, I want to try to really pull some stuff out of you here, Chris, because some of these ideas are not new. Focus, it's like maybe we've heard about that before, but let's make it just, how do we do this? Because I know for me, shiny object syndrome, I just got back from a mastermind in Denver, and I took pages of notes, and I'm overwhelmed in a good way. I'm so excited. There's 57,000 things in AI I want to implement. There's different ways to tweak my offers. There's opportunities to expand. You could hire this or that person. There's 46 different YouTube video ideas, 3 other business ideas I could start. So there's all kind of that. And then plus, even just, this ties into our life. So I know listeners, don't jump off, because it's the tools of actually being able to do this. When so many people are sidelined by overwhelm more than ever before, and just an age of infinite distractions.
Yeah. I mean, For me, this is, and this we kind of touch on this as well in the book, but for me, this is about the zone of genius thing and like doing the work only you can do as much as you possibly can. The one thing that I really struggled on when it came to focus in the early part of my career was relinquishing control, but not just relinquishing control in terms of a micromanagement standpoint, because I was a horrible micromanager at one point, but also relinquishing what I like to call the virtual vulture phase, where you're kind of hanging off people's shoulders. You're not actually in the meeting, but you're kind of in the meeting kind of thing. It's sort of looking over what's going on and things. Oh, copy me into that email just in case, and all these kind of things. All these things, they suck away the focus juice that we've got and that we very readily require to be able to get through our workday. There's a couple little things that I do when it comes to focus personally that work really, really well for me. The first thing I do is when I'm in work mode, like creator mode, when I'm writing, very specifically when I'm writing or whether I'm recording podcasts and things like that, my phone is not in my office. I leave it outside my office. It's a tiny little thing that I do, but I've found that because it's not there, and even if it's on silent, I can still maybe see it or feel a vibrate or a kind of, that the additional kind of, oh, I can touch that and see if anybody needs me right now kind of thing. Like getting that out of the room has been a huge thing. The other thing was my working environment. I used to work in mess, man. Like my desk used to be like a bomb site. It was shocking. And
Sustained energy. Now in cookies and cream flavor. Cliff Bar.
Booking.com has all kinds of stays because a city hotel is right for some, but not quite right for others. Find exactly what you're booking for. Booking.com, booking.yeah.
Your dog is trying to tell you something. Fresh flavor, gourmet variety, he loves them too. Now serving Jinx, your dog's one-way ticket to culinary paradise. But why stop there? Bone broth, high-protein toppers, I'm listening. And low-calorie, nutrient-packed drizzle, all at an affordable price. Now that's a game changer. At Jinx, we've got the makings of the best bowl for your best friend.
I need less than a third of the stuff that's on my desk most of the time. So I just keep my desk incredibly clear at all times as well. So that focus has been, those couple of things right there have really helped me to focus on the things I'm doing as and when I'm doing them. But the bigger picture view is the zone of genius thing. Only I should be writing my weekly newsletter. Only I should be recording my weekly podcast. Only I should be recording our social media reels. I shouldn't be trying to delegate any of that stuff out because that's what I'm known for. That's what I can be doing. What I shouldn't be doing is mess around in my Facebook ad account, or I shouldn't be doing research on somebody that I'm wanting to interview. I can get one of my VAs to do that for me, and so on and so on and so on. So I think it's a combination of knowing where your sweet spot is and understanding what the right priorities are, and letting go of the rest of those priorities as and when the time comes, but also equally knowing, what we should be focused on in the first place.
Before we move on, can you speak to early startup creators and entrepreneurs, which is many in our audience? They're solo. So this is genius advice. We have probably half our audience is business owners. So them in vulture mode or them relinquishing control or them delegating is essential. But there are some who are solopreneur stage, building up their content, business, just getting started, and thinking about they're ideating around, do I create an offer? Do I need to start building a list? Am I focusing on making YouTube videos right now? Should I actually, I'm distracted by multiple social media platforms. If you were to apply focus amplification to people that are in their first or second year and are working on also, there is a side hustle for them too. So a lot of their time, they're maybe stay at home because they've got a partner that's helping them, but then they're juggling kids or something else, or they're part-time or full-time at work, so they have a limited number of hours per week where they're trying to discern what to focus on. And after the only 5 to 10 hours a week they have to devote to their side hustle, that's so precious. You spend those in the wrong place, you're waiting until next week to make another investment towards actually reaching a level of financial momentum that's going to buy back your time. How would you apply this to people that are in those very early days?
Well, I mean, the first thing I would say is just because you can do it doesn't mean that you should do it. So there's a lot of great ideas that will pop into your head, particularly when you get going. You've got that entrepreneurial bug and you're reading the books and listening to the shows and all the rest of it, and you kind of want to go. But again, just because you can do a whole bunch of stuff doesn't mean that you should be doing it all. And focus itself actually is the absolute best reminder of this. If you look at it as the acronym that it is, focus is focus on one course until success. So do one thing at a time until you're done with it, and then move on to the next project, until you're done with it, and then move on to the next project, and so on and so on. Inside of my Roundtable Mastermind, which is my inner circle that I work with a lot of 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs, one of the things that we do every quarter is we work on our 3 big things. And our 3 big things is like a really technical term that we use with multimillionaires that we coach. But we say we got the 3 big things, and the 3 big things are the 3 big things that you want to do in the next 90 days. It's not it's not the big 10 things or the big 20 things. And these guys have all got teams. They could do a lot more than 3 things in 90 days if they wanted to, but they only pick the 3 things. And we actually do a pit stop call in between our quarterly meets where we look at where we're at on those 3 big things. So we had 100% on one of them, good. Boom, we ticked that off, great. We have 50% on another, 70% on another. Which one can we complete easiest? Is it the 70 or the 50th? Okay, well, let's go to the 70% because we've only got another 30% to do. Now we've got 2 out of our 3 big things done, and we do it like that. It's a very, very simple approach, but you do not run until you can walk properly. And I think that's a very, very clear piece of advice that anybody that's just starting out should pick up.
Chris, you just added so much value to the Think Media podcast family, and you made the smart move listening this far into the episode because, like you said, it's very simple, but I know that 100% of us right now could be saying, do you know what the 3 big things are for your next 90 days? Are those defined? Are those clarified? And then also, what are you doing that you should set down, stop, say no to right now that are a distraction from those 3 big things? Focus. Follow one course until successful. Okay, let's hit like 2 more here. So you mentioned your zone of genius. That's chapter 7. We'll skip over that one. We got, and you could, get more in the book, of course. And so let's hit this one. You have a chapter on Master Every Moment. And you also have a video on time blocking videos or time blocking in general. We've encouraged listeners to, what gets scheduled gets done, to time block. But you took that conversation to a deeper level, and maybe you could go even higher on Master Every Moment. How does controlling your schedule actually protect your mental health and business longevity?
I'll tell you what the big thing for me with time blocking was, and I'd kind of done this on and off for years, Sean. I kind of did, I'm going to batch, say, 4 podcast episodes together on Tuesday morning, for example, right? Or something like that. So I'd kind of done it, but I kind of didn't do it. And going into this year, I really committed to time blocking properly. And I spoke to another couple of people that have been kind of big proponents of it and really kind of swore by it. And I said, you know what, I'm going to follow this. So, for example, on one day, it'll be my creator day. And all I do on that day is create stuff. So I'll either write scripts for videos or podcasts, I'll record, or I should clarify, in the morning I'll write, and in the afternoon rather, I will record. So I might, do any kind of written content first, like newsletters, things like that, emails, and then I'll go to more rich media content like podcasts or video. Then in the afternoon, I'll record those podcasts or those videos. And usually I can do a couple of videos in one afternoon, or maybe 3 solo episodes of the audio podcast in one afternoon, right? So like Monday, I really look forward to Monday. Monday's like a really cool day of the week for me because all I'm doing is being me all day long. I'm just pouring all of me out, and I absolutely love that. Second day of the week could be something completely different. It could be more kind of like learning focused or more big rock kind of focused, where I'm working on bigger projects, for example, or spending time with the team or something along those times, those types of things. And another day of the week could be focused entirely on sales and marketing. So maybe I'm in marketing meetings with my crew, or possibly I'm doing sales calls. Maybe I'll do 2 or 3 sales calls in the afternoon, so we'll kind of batch them together. What this has done for me has not only been really beneficial for me personally, but also for my team as well. So, for example, if we know that, say, Wednesday afternoon is the only time in the week where I will do sales calls, then we know we've only got so many slots in that afternoon for me to pick out those individual sales calls that need to take place. So those calls that come my way are my absolute best prospects. The other 3 or 4 people that might be a potential client are handled by somebody else on the team, because I know if I can get the absolute best quality 3 or 4 calls every Wednesday afternoon on the books, I'm likely to close every one of those deals. And so not only does it help me to be more productive and make more money, but it also allows my team to know where the line is in terms of, is this for Chris or is this for us? And it's been amazing for everyone this year. It's genuinely changed the way that we work together as a team. It really has. And another thing is that I do a certain amount of one-on-one work with our Roundtable Mastermind members, where they can get access to me on WhatsApp Monday through to Thursday. But they know that I only check my WhatsApp messages 9 a.m. in the morning and then at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So if they message me in the middle, they know they're not going to get a reply until 4 p.m. If they message me after 4 p.m., they know they won't get a reply until 9 a.m. the next day. So it's also enabled me to kind of manage the perception of clients as well.
That makes more sense, and master every moment. And I want to encourage listeners, you want to be thinking big in small places, and you want wise, intelligent systems, even if you're at the start. And so time blocking, mastering every moment, taking control of your calendar, that's going to be the bridge from where you are today to where you want to reach with your online business, YouTube channel, and social media. I have actually this is going to be my favorite question of the whole time, and it's something that everybody listening wants, but many don't know how to get. And
I can't give you any free money, Sean. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm going to be giving you my crypto wallet, so I still need a transfer by the end of this. But before we get there to just our final question, I want to have you shout out anything you're doing. We'll make sure to link everything up in the show notes, and then tell us about the book. We'll link to the book. People can get it. But anything else you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, for me, I'm just on this mission, man. This is more than just a book. This is a genuine movement, I feel, in the works. We've got the live event, the Long Haul Leaders Summit, taking place in Cambridge, England in November. So it's on November 1st and November 2nd. If anybody's interested, there are maybe, 24 tickets remaining. We kept it very intimate at just 100 people. So you can go to longhauleader.com/summit. But at the bare minimum, buy the book. You won't regret it. It will help you leave, all that hustle culture behind and start leading with more intention and more freedom.
I love that. So we'll link up the summit, we'll link up the book, and you could go to the website for the book as well as
Downy Unstoppables with odor blocker to keep you fresh all day. Just toss, wash, and wow. Downy Unstoppables with odor blocker for all day freshness. Smell unstoppable.
Want to take the next step with Entivio? Then it's time to talk to your healthcare provider. With Entivio, you may be able to pay as little as $5 per dose. Plus, our team can help connect you with additional support programs.
Entivio. Wouldn't it be great if our kids knew how to use money? Bye, Mom. Bye. You gotta settle your debts before you settle on a new hoodie. Good call. Let's get more for money. Huntington Bank.
Be the first to see Freakier Friday in theaters. Bring your daughter.
I'm free.
Bring your mother.
Make good choices.
You are so lame for the ultimate girls' night out.
I think I just peed a little.
Disney's Freakier Friday. Rated PG.
Sold to grab your copy My final question for you is actually about building your reputation and building relationships and building your network. What was fascinating as I was looking at the Amazon listing of your book was I was looking at all the endorsements that you have. And you've got Lewis Howes, Amy Porterfield, Dan Martell, Sally Hogshead, Rory Vaden, Neen James, Michael Port, Aaron King, John Acuff, Amy Landino, Pat Flynn. You're missing Sean Cannell, so I don't even think anyone's gonna, just kidding. Ali Abdaal, Mike McAllowitz, Donald Miller. Mike, here's my question though, is like, for people listening to this, I think they understand the power of, man, if I could get on that podcast, hey, if I could develop that relationship, hey, you know, they look around and they see that iron sharpens iron and that there is a multiplication factor. These are like legendary entrepreneurs and content creators and people that are building different types of businesses. So I'm asking for the audience, your advice, that they would say, you know, I want to get in the room, I want to get in the circle, I want to do it in the right way, but if I'm going to be the type of leader that writes a book in 5 years and has these kinds of individuals endorsing my book, what would you do today to achieve that?
I would get very clear on my intentions to do it for the right reasons. You know, relationships should be treasured. They shouldn't be used. And I didn't have to ask any of those individuals twice. And actually, one of the really, really nice moments in collecting those endorsements from people was from my friend and my mentor, Michael Hyatt. And Michael has been asked dozens and dozens and dozens of times to write forewords for books. I really thought long and hard before asking him, but I'm glad I did. However, at first, he said, well, send me the manuscript. I'll take a look at it. And then I didn't hear anything from him for like a week. And I thought to myself, oh, man, did I overstep? Like, have I upset him? Is he kind of, you know, because we've been building that relationship together for a long time, and we've broken bread with our wives and hung out in different cities in the world and all these things. And eventually he got back to me about a week and a half later, and the foreword was attached to the email. So he'd just been busy writing the foreword, reading the book and writing the foreword. But that for me was a real full circle moment, Sean, because you know, when I first met Michael, I remember explicitly saying to myself, like, you know, I want to be like Mike, not the MJ, but this Mike, because he's doing it right. He's got his family involved. He's doing the right type of work for the right type of people. He's doing it with longevity built in. And I want to learn from him as much as I can. I want to be around him as much as I can. And I've made that a thing over the years, not just with Michael, but with Lewis and Pat and you know, all those other guys you mentioned. And I've never, ever, ever done any of it with any ulterior motive other than coming from a place of wanting to learn and wanting to help and support and to serve them as much as I can as well. And I really feel like relationships should be treasured. The online business world is rife with people trying to get a leg up on their ladder too quickly, quite frankly. And what you've got to understand is that you're not meant to go 180 miles an hour when you're building a business. You're meant to go at a steady 30 or 40. And for me, that's all about surrounding myself with the right people. Getting in the rooms actually will be a heck of a lot easier if you just build relationships for the right reasons. Not to be in the room, but because you want to be like the people in the room. Eventually, you'll get invited to the room.
How long? One of the things I find interesting is how long has it taken to cultivate those relationships?
I mean, you know, I've known Lewis, for example, for about, I'm going to say maybe 14, 15 years now. Pat and I have been buddies for a little longer than that. Amy Porterfield, 12, 13 years. McAllowitz, over a decade. Most of those guys are a decade, right? Most of those guys are thereabouts. There's a few others, like Don Miller, for example. He and I have kind of been in each other's worlds a little bit, never really spoken or anything like that, other than, you know, the odd social media comment. But I was invited to a mastermind at his house in in Nashville last year, and we hit it off immediately. I bought him I know he's a big music guy and a jazz guy, so I bought him a first press John Coltrane recording from back in the day as a gift for hosting the mastermind. That went down well, and we were listening to tunes together and talking together and all that kind of stuff. And, I asked him, would you mind? And he said yes. So, it really comes down to just playing the long haul. You're playing that long game. You want to be around for a good while, and people have to understand that. I think the really important part here is that you've got to nurture the people that are surrounding you, but you've also got to be nurtured by them as well. And so I'm always about just fostering growth and building relationships in the right way. And I've been very, very blessed to be able to do it with some pretty awesome folks.
I'm very inspired by your answer, and I agree with you. The online business space, the YouTube space, the creator space, sometimes going to an event in YouTube, you call the event VidCon or VidSummit, mostly incredible people, but there's some people there and you could tell that it's just what's in it only for me. Like you said, they're just trying to climb the ladder. And like you said, they're trying to climb it too fast. And what I love, and it's such a great takeaway on this episode, is there's some personal branding stuff that we talked about that's so essential to adapt and pivot in a world of AI. And there is some urgency to hustle when you need to hustle for certain seasons and to have good rhythms and have good recovery. But you do want to strike while the iron is hot. And there's a massive window of opportunity right now on YouTube, on social media, if you're smart and if you're strategic. But getting to capture a vision at the end of this podcast for where could your brand and your business be in 15 years. I'm so excited about this book and just want to acknowledge you for being a long haul leader. And it's so cool that this is coming up and it's going to change a lot of lives. But this is it's one of those overnight success things. It's like, here's Chris, overnight success, his new book. Yeah, just after a couple of decades of consistency in the same direction and doing it right. And of course, not being perfect. We make mistakes on the journey, but being value-based and principle-based, that's going to last. Like when you just you're not being weird in any relationships and you're giving without expectation. But all of those seeds that you're planting are producing this harvest of the impact of your business. That's why I love you as a friend and the stuff you've been doing is because it's like you're one of the good guys. It's like you've built with integrity, you've built with character. That has been established not in a few minutes, but in a few decades. And my hope is that everybody listening to this episode of the Think Media podcast would build that way, that they would aspire to be long haul leaders, that they would invest in this information and be thinking about not just where can they be in the next 15 minutes, but where will their brand and business be in the next 15 years if they build right and they build smart and they commit to being a long haul leader. Hey, I just want to give you a quick heads up that there are a few spots open in our YouTube coaching program. If you go to viralvideocoach.com, you can apply to see if you qualify. And the bandwidth of the program is truly limited. We have a limited number of certified Think Media YouTube coaches that are committed to helping our clients get results and starting and growing successful YouTube channels, as well as driving business results. Whatever you want to happen, whether that's branding strategy, whether that's more leads, customers, we will put together a 90-day game plan with you. It includes channel reviews, it includes group coaching with me, and it's a very powerful program. But again, there are limited spots available. So if you just want to inquire, it's super chill. You can see if you qualify and see if it's a good fit. Just go to viralvideocoach.com, fill out the application, and then we'll reach out to you to schedule a call with someone on my team to see if it'll be a good fit. And if you got value out of today's episode, it means the world to myself and our team if you like, rate, review, or share the podcast wherever you watch or listen. My name is Sean Cannell, your guide to building a profitable YouTube channel, and I can't wait to connect with you in a future episode.
Choose one appetizer and 2 entrees. Applebee's iconic 2 for $25.
Short-staffed, we all have to do a little bit more. That's why we switched to Dawn Professional. Its grease-cutting suds last 2 times longer, so we can wash double the pots in just 1 sink, which means we can focus more on our famous baked ziti.
Dawn Professional Manual Pot and Pan.
Been been posting videos, grinding on content, but feel like you're not seeing growth in your business or your brand, then this episode is for you. A mistake 99% of people are making is they think they need to post more, when in fact they actually need a better strategy.
There's 3 ingredients that you need to have a successful business. Product, it is brand, and it is people.
So what are the fundamentals of building a real brand that's authentic and a strong community in today's world?
I have a few different strategies in terms of content and storytelling of what we're trying to accomplish, but very few of those is direct conversion and call to action.
Nick Bare is the founder and CEO of Bare Performance Nutrition, an $80 million brand built organically. He's a hybrid athlete, best-selling author, and a real-time case study of how content can scale not just a channel, but an empire. In this episode, you're going to learn the 10 creator business laws. We're going to be covering why creator market fit beats product market fit.
Creating content and building my platforms was always done behind the purpose of building my business BPM.
How one failed idea ended up leading to 50,000 new followers in 3 days.
The race blew up. We would have 20,000 people on these live streams.
And how to build a loyal community that promotes your business for you.
An audience is one to many. A community is many to many.
If you're building a YouTube channel, a personal brand, or a digital business, this isn't about working harder. This is about thinking smarter and building something that lasts. Nick, welcome to the show.
Sean, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate you.
So I'm excited to dive in, and eventually we'll get to your story, but I kind of want to go 0 to 100 real quick. And after studying your YouTube channel, over 1 million subscribers, your Instagram influence, the business you've built, I really extrapolated 10 creator business laws that are kind of like branding, marketing, social media. And the first one is creator market fit beats product market fit. So here's the definition: that the content you create creates the demand for products, not the other way around. So my question is, you didn't start with a product, you started with content and a community. How did this kind of creator market fit concept come for you in your journey, if you kind of unpack that?
Well, it might look that way, but if I take you back, I need to provide some context before I get to the answer to that. So I started the business in 2012, and this is when I was in college, and it was before I started creating any content. And my approach then in 2012, it was, the supplement industry back then was the wild, wild west, and YouTube was this new platform, and especially fitness YouTube was almost even a newer part of the fitness industry as a whole. And in 2012, I saw fitness YouTube becoming a thing. And I saw these creators joining the platform and vlogging and just documenting their training and their nutrition, behind the scenes of building a personal brand. And I thought then, okay, I'm obsessed with this industry. I'm obsessed with these products. I want to build my own brand. Here's an opportunity. So my strategy was to align with some of these fitness YouTubers at the time, send them product to review, eventually sponsor them, turn them into brand ambassadors. And based off my math at the time, when I was 22 years old, I thought if I could convert a small portion of their audience, that I could make $1 million in that first year. And I told my dad, I'm gonna make $1 million with this business idea year one, 2012. And he said, Nick, if it was that easy, everyone would do it. Year one, I did $20,000 in revenue. Year two, I did $20,000 in revenue. Year three, $20,000 in revenue. Fast forward 2 years later, 2014, the business still wasn't growing. That's when I decided to start creating content. So because I had no other option, the business wasn't growing, I had the supply, I had no demand, I had no money to pay anyone, I couldn't hire or pay an agency, I didn't know marketing. My strategy in 2014 was to start documenting everything on YouTube, my training, my nutrition, behind the scenes of building the business, what it's like to be an infantry platoon leader in the Army in Fort Hood, Texas. And I took that approach of building a platform, an audience, and a community in 2014. That decision there to start documenting everything changed my life and led me on this path to where I'm at today.
And so it's not that influencer marketing doesn't work, but it didn't work for you in those early years.
I mean, I think it could have worked in those early years. I just didn't have the funds or the resources to do influencer marketing right. You know, I vividly remember, I just told this story recently, 2013, maybe a year after starting the business, I signed our first 2 athletes, and this was in my hometown of Palmyra, Pennsylvania, so central Pennsylvania. And I signed these athletes. They didn't have big social media platforms. Social media was not what it is today back then. And I remember them texting me one day asking if they could come see our headquarters and office and tour the facility. Our headquarters and office was literally a room above the garage of my parents' house. And I had to let them down and say, I can't tour you and show you this place because it doesn't exist. Influencer marketing back then was so brand new. I mean, I remember in 2014, 2015, when I started using the platforms and building an audience and community, being an influencer wasn't a thing yet, but having a platform and an audience and realizing that had leverage and potential, especially significant financial potential, I didn't realize what that would become 10 years later.
So this idea of creator market fit beats product market fit is kind of the idea that now you're leading with who you are first. You create the products that you want, and the audience started to gather around you, not products. Do you agree with this? Like, also there's the fitness industry is so saturated and there's so much supplements and there's a lack of a brand, or if there isn't a brand, what's the connection point? Would you say it's true that you've kind of became, as you're shifting into 2014, you start becoming the spearhead yourself, and so you were looking for these other individuals, you didn't have the funds or resources, so you started to document your journey, but then also since then has product innovation basically been a way to scratch your own itch?
For sure. I mean, every product that we have launched behind the brand has been selfishly because it's something that I've wanted to create and use for myself. But people want to follow a person, they want to follow an individual, they want to follow a brand if the core values, purpose, beliefs, and goals are directly aligned with them. I had the opportunity to spend some time with Gymshark's founder, CEO Ben Francis a few years ago, and he came to visit Austin, Texas. We showed him and toured him our office, our headquarters. We went to dinner, and one thing he told me that I'll never forget, he said there's 3 ingredients that you need to have a successful business. It is product, it is brand, and it is people, in no specific order. You need a really good product to be successful, and especially in the long term. You need a strong brand, and a brand that resonates and that people connect to. And then you need people. For me, I think people might be the most important ingredient of all of that. Not just people on your team, your staff, your employees, your family, but the individuals that you sign or you work with that share your beliefs, values, and are extensions of your business. But without those 3 things, you cannot succeed. Brand, for me, I'm a brand builder. I love all things brand. Brand is alive. Brand has a heartbeat. Brand has a DNA. It bleeds. You build a brand in drops, you lose it in buckets. That is one of my favorite quotes. It's not my quote, but it's one of my favorite quotes that I've ever heard. You build a brand in drops and you lose it in buckets. Building a brand is a long-term play. It is not done overnight. And you can't buy brand. You can't pay for brand. You have to build it.
So if you were coaching an entrepreneur and somebody that wanted to follow in your footsteps and they wanted to figure out creator market fit, they want to productize, and maybe they've started, and many of our listeners have started with a YouTube channel first, with an Instagram account first. They're thinking about productizing. It's kind of a question of what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Well, just to be clear on your story, you started supplements in a dorm room first.
Correct.
But for some, they're also like, okay, I want to monetize. Do I try to get into a physical product? Do I launch some kind of merch line? Do I white label? Do I be an ambassador? There's different things. How could I find the right person to be an ambassador with or to partner with? Maybe I don't feel like I want to have the complexity to start my own supplement brand, but many people are making full-time careers as through brand sponsorships, letting you do the heavy lifting in your company, but maybe being an ambassador for you. What would you say, though, would be a framework for someone like really tapping into that authentic, true way of monetizing to find their creator market fit?
I actually think that most creators would be most successful not starting their own business and their own brand, and that they will be most successful with brand partnerships and making money off of commissions and license fees and going down that route. I think I have the upper hand and leverage in the way that I built my business. And here's the way I'll lay it out, and here's where I'd love people to, the way that I love people to think about it. I started my business first because I had a very strong, authentic, raw, real passion and interest behind building the business that I started. And then I had to find ways to actually build that business and create demand, and that's why I started creating content. Creating content for me was always not to be an influencer or not to build this massive platform. Creating content and building my platforms was always done behind the purpose of building my business, BPN. I think one of the issues that people run into is they become a creator, they build this platform, they have this audience, they have this following, and then they think to themselves, how do I monetize this? Which is not necessarily the wrong way to think, but they don't get creative enough, and they don't think in an authentic, genuine way enough, and they don't create something or build something that is real and passionate to them. They just see the dollar signs. They see the opportunity, which might work for certain individuals, but are you able to do that for the 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years that it requires to build something very strong and durable that has legacy and legs to stand on? So I think if you're a creator and you want to build a business and a brand and you want to take that approach, I mean, there's a million questions you have to ask yourself first. There's a million ways to build a business, some that require a lot of time, some that require little of your time and energy, but it's probably going to cost more money. But is this business, is this brand something that's real, authentic, and honest to yourself? And is it something you actually want to spend your time building that might not pay you for years to come in the future?
Did any products flop because they didn't match your audience desires, but you thought they were great ideas?
Febreze. Love your plugins but wish you had more scent control? Meet the Febreze Plug Scent Booster. Enjoy the same 50 days of continuous scent as Febreze Plug, including a cord for flexible placement options and a boost button for extra scent. Febreze Plug Scent Booster.
Real strength isn't pushing through pain, it's treating it. When there's no pain, there's more gain. Advil targets pain caused by inflammation for fast, strong relief. Advil, that's real strength.
Join millions growing their career with Coursera. Start learning today.
Booking.com has all kinds of stays. For those who love family resorts, and for those who do not. There we go. Find exactly what you're booking for. Booking.com, booking.yeah.
Any products flop because they didn't match your audience desires, but you thought they were great ideas?
Yeah. So I started the business 2012. Initially, it was because I was really interested in the bodybuilding, powerlifting, strength industry and space. If you would have asked me in 2012, if I still had the business in 2025, what would that business look like? I would have said traditional sports nutrition that has a booth at the Arnold Fitness Expo every year in Columbus, Ohio. And we were sponsoring bodybuilders who step on stage. 2018, we launched our first health and wellness supplement that was Strong Greens. It became our best-selling product very quickly. So 6 years into building the business, we are now a split between health and wellness and strength and bodybuilding. In 2020, we launched our first endurance supplement, which is G1M Sport, carbohydrates and electrolytes for endurance athletes. that was slow out of the gates, but is now our best-selling product. Over these last 13 years, we have evolved from a traditional sports nutrition, bodybuilding supplement brand to an endurance consumer brand, which is so interesting to me because when I got out of the Army in 2017, I literally said, I will never run a day in my life again. And that's funny because from 2018 to now, I've done multiple marathons, ultra marathons, triathlons, Ironmans. It has become who I am. It's my identity. It's what we do here at BPN. So along the way, we've discontinued products because they didn't necessarily fit who we were trying to become, the vision for the brand. Like one of our really good selling products, actually, we just discontinued a few months ago. It was called EndoPump. EndoPump was a muscle pump enhancer, non-stimulant, that is formulated and was meant to increase blood flow to the muscles being trained so you get a stronger pump. This is a feeling that bodybuilders chase after. It did really well for us, and we made multiple 7 figures on this product. However, it did not align with the vision of what we saw BPN becoming in the future based off of our goals. So we discontinued that product. A few other products that we discontinued along the way. One was a nutrition bar called the Field Bar, and one was a meal replacement powder called Strong Food. Those 2 products, I believe, didn't succeed, even though they were great products, is because there wasn't a really direct use case for those products. It was a nice to have. For example, the Field Bar was a nut-based protein bar, had about 15 grams of fat because it was dense in nut butters, about 25 grams of carbs, and like 16 grams of protein. It was a really good tasting bar, but it didn't have a clear function. Same with Strong Food. It was really nice to have. It was an expensive product because the formula was very high quality and impressive. It was a nice to have, but it wasn't a need to have. Where we found the most success with our products is it's a need to have, not a nice to have, and there's a very clear use case for the product. So I'll give you an example. The Field Bar did not perform very well. We discontinued it and we launched a new bar called the Go Bar. The Go Bar is a lightweight oat-based bar designed to consume before or during endurance training. There was a very clear use case for that product. The Go Bar does very well for us. 2 bars, different messaging, different form factor and use case. And I think when you go into product development, what we've learned is a product has to have a very clear, this is how you use it, this is why you use it. It's not a nice to have, this is a need to have, and this is what it does, this is the problem it solves, and this is how it benefits the consumer.
Powerful stories with clear insights that could be applied to any product development, need to have and nice to have when it comes to, I think digital products, coaching, as opposed to just fluff, like good, but is that essential ingredients? Okay, so we've covered one of our 10 laws, creator market fit, and covered a lot of nuances of brand, which we'll circle back on throughout this conversation. But law number 2, stop selling, start telling. Stories sell better than sales pitches. And again, these laws are coming out of me studying your content, your brand. You've said that storytelling was the missing piece in your early business. What changed when you kind of stopped selling or started to tap into storytelling? And you also, around this time, Casey Neistat was vlogging and coming out. What are some of the lessons you learned there and how this all tied into your journey on YouTube?
My business and my YouTube really started to scale when I was stationed in South Korea in 2016 on a 9-month training rotation. And when I got to Korea, we were doing $2,000 a month in revenue. My goal after that 9-month training rotation was that we were going to be doing, I say we, it was just me. I was going to be doing $10,000 a month in revenue. And within 90 days, we went from $2,000 a month in revenue to $10,000 a month in revenue. A few things that changed. One, I built our website. I rebuilt our website on Shopify. Before, I was just on a friend's website server. We could only take payments through PayPal. I rebranded the products. So we did new logos, new packaging, new labels, new look and feel. launched a few new products while in Korea, and I doubled down on YouTube, and I had more clear intention behind what I was creating. And this is when I came across Casey Neistat. And I would just study the way that Casey would tell stories. It could be a 9-minute vlog in New York City. There's a very clear intention of that video, but he takes you through all these different avenues and compartments and side stories to get to this one big overarching story, and you're hooked the entire time. So I would take this structure and then I would replicate it in my videos. At the time, like I said, I was stationed in South Korea. I would travel into Seoul on the weekends. I'd have a topic that was on my mind that I wanted to cover in this video, and I would tell this story while taking the train into Seoul and trying some of the food within the fish markets and the streets and interacting with the local population. And this is where I learned the power of storytelling. And my YouTube channel, when I was in Korea, grew from 30,000 subscribers to 80,000 subscribers. This is also where I learned and realized that brand building is a long-term play. And in every piece of content I create, every video, the goal is not to sell. The goal is to bring people along for the journey and the ride. And it might take them 3, 6, 9 months after coming across my content, viewing it religiously, and then finally deciding to purchase until they become a consumer. And that's okay with me. Obviously, the goal is to expedite that, where it's not taking 9 months over time to convert someone to become a purchaser that is a viewer initially. But I was okay with playing it for the long term. I wasn't thinking about converting people instantaneously. I was thinking about every piece of content was a deposit into my content bank to build loyalty and retention and bring people along for the journey and the ride, so that when they finally do buy in, they are so bought in and hooked and believe that they want to tell everyone they know, spread the word of BPN and go one more, and then
every bottle of McCormick is flavor sealed. For fresh flavor, everyone notices.
Free Ultra, when Tiny Pill a Day delivers triple action support. Move free. Joint health starts today.
First time you try Bounce, it hits you. Your laundry feels way fresher, softer. So you start to wonder, if I put a sheet of Bounce on the finance guy, will it make him softer? Bounce can't do it all. But for better laundry, put a sheet on it with Bounce.
Welcome to Huntington, a bank that believes we should all get more for money. Like a path to turn late nights into beach days. And a nudge when you got enough for the go. Go for it, Daryl. Let's get more for money. Huntington Bank.
Make that tune on me. Can I land this baddie? Not if Stress Sweat BO gets in the way. Luckily, I've got Secret Clinical. Secret gives me 3 times more stress sweat protection, so he can't smell the fear, just the pheromones. Secret, stay fresher under pressure.
And then customer retention just improves over time.
How would you describe that storytelling structure if you broke it down? Fast forward to today. Now you've practiced it a lot. Maybe you've refined it. So what is your current storytelling structure if you're about to create a new piece of content?
I mean, we have a few different buckets of content we create. There's vlogs. There are short form or long format actual films around events, stories, people. There is kind of strictly some product education type videos behind the scenes of building the business. But really, with every piece of content we're creating, and I'm creating, it is laying out what is the goal of this piece. What are we trying to accomplish? Is this that we're trying to educate a consumer on a new product? Is this that we're trying to teach people how to use a product and incorporate it into our everyday life? Is this more so pulling back the curtain and showing people what it's actually like here at BPN in the business? Or is it more broad and overarching, where I'm just trying to create a piece of content that shares my core values in hopes that people come across it and they see alignment in themselves and their core values, and they want to learn more. Some of my content is conversion. Some of it is just to gauge curiosity. I want people to come across and say, I like this, I relate to this, let me learn more, let me watch more, let me learn more. I give them opportunities and point them in different directions of the podcast or articles or other videos. But I have a few different strategies in terms of content and storytelling of what we're trying to accomplish, but very few of those is direct conversion and call to action. It is more so long-term play. And with every piece of content I'm creating, it is how do I share my vision, my core values, my purpose, beliefs, and goals in hopes that someone aligns with that and wants to learn more. That curiosity is sparked.
If a founder said, and this is very common, storytelling is a big buzzword, and a lot of people say, like, you got to have story, and you need a good brand story, and you need a good marketing storytelling, and if you're a public speaker, you need a good story. But yet, it seems still to be elusive. If a founder said, I don't know how to tell a story, what would you encourage them if they're about to film their next video, like practically how they would structure that?
That is an issue is, for one, not everyone has a really strong story. So don't fabricate your story or don't try to turn something into something that is actually nothing. If you don't have a really strong story, don't force it. But I think people can practice storytelling. And that's exactly what I did when I was in my barracks room in South Korea. And it comes with repetition and practice. I mean, I can give you an example of what I did when I was in Korea. One video that pops into my head is, how much money do I make as a second lieutenant in the Army? And you would think that, all right, I'm gonna click on this video and it's gonna be someone sitting behind a camera, like I am right now, and just talking to the camera. Here's how much money I make, and this is what the journeys looked like, and this is how much money you can make with more years in service and promotions and rank. But no, I laid out my day for that weekend. It was probably a Saturday. And like I was telling you, I had to get on the train and travel to the train and spend some time in the city and bounce around and travel back. And I would kind of storyboard and script out, okay, what are the pieces I want to cover? And then I'd have that in my back pocket or written in my phone. And as I'm traveling, I'm just marking it off. Okay, I've covered part 1, part 2, part 3. So I'm not only providing people value, and I'm actually delivering on what I said the title of the video was, but I'm keeping people engaged and interested, and I'm able to add these little nuggets along the way that showcase my personality or my brand or my interests and other things. You get pieces of me with a story that I'm trying to tell that is pretty black and white and boring and clear, and it gauges and sparks interest. But it comes with repetition. More repetition and just trial over and over and over again. You make these refinements and you get better.
This is genius. And what it sounds like is very Casey Neistat-esque in the sense of normal talking head video is like one layer of storytelling. The fact that you storyboard that and you essentially vlog and take people along with you, there's an overarching level of interest and curiosity. And then there'd be the unpredictable that would happen during the day, as well as just the quirks from that. So it's almost like good TV in a sense as well, where any great show or movie has multiple overlaying narratives and divergent things of interest that keep you engaged. It's just not linear, boring, just told. And am I articulating it right? What are your thoughts on my breakdown of that?
The unpredictable is the best part. I remember this one video in Korea where I'm just going through the day telling the story, and I'm thinking of a million things when I'm traveling. So I'm in this cab, I'm looking back at clips on my camera that I filmed. I'm looking at my list of topics I need to cover. I ended up leaving my phone in the cab. I get dropped off. I film some things. I go to look for my phone. I can't find it. I had to find this kid on the street who spoke some English. He called my phone and was communicating with the cab driver who had my phone, who didn't speak any English. And I filmed all of this, and it became such a fun, engaging, unpredictable moment of the video that I will never forget because it brought life to the story. It was a story within its own.
Genius. Makes total sense. And I think encouraging for us as listeners to think about get out of the house or think about the core thing you teach, but then bring it into the real world. Fast forward to today, cameras like the DJI Pocket 3 are incredibly powerful and popular. Are you still vlogging sometimes? Because at the level you're at, you have film crews and other things. Is there still times where you're vlogging, and what do you vlog on?
I think it's really important that I keep vlogging because there's a different feel in a video where it's someone filming you and you don't directly address the camera. Like, there's a certain time and place. With some films that we do, we make it very obvious from the beginning, we will not look into camera, we will not talk to the camera. That accomplishes a certain mission, for sure. But I've also found when we go too hard on that, or that's all we're creating, there is a disconnection between the content and the consumer, the viewer. So I make sure that in at least 80% of our videos, maybe not in every clip, but certain parts of the video, I am holding the camera, I am talking to the camera. You see me flipping it down and showing my shoes, and you know that I'm holding it and talking to it because it brings people in and it makes it feel very real and personable and vulnerable. And I think that's a really important part of it.
Hey, we're going to get back into the conversation with Nick in just a second. But one thing that he said that really stood out to me was content isn't just marketing, it's how you lead people into your mission. And if you're new here, that's exactly what we teach here at Think Media. How to grow your brand and your business with YouTube the smart way. So if you've been thinking about using YouTube to start or grow your brand, or as a content creator wanting to monetize and get more views, check out our free 1-hour masterclass available at thinkmasterclass.com. This class is on demand, it's no fluff, highly tactical, and you can click the link in the show notes or just go to thinkmasterclass.com to get access to the 1-hour deep dive training. You're going to learn the one strategy we're using across multiple YouTube channels right now that's generating over 150,000 organic views every single day. No gimmicks, no guesswork. So to check it out, just click the link in the show notes, or when you're done listening to today's conversation with Nick, go to thinkmasterclass.com. If you're waking up and you're doing a run, what camera are you using today to just film while you're doing your routine, about to head out in the morning by yourself at home?
Sony a7S III. That's like my go-to 16 to 35 millimeter lens. Sometimes I'll use a GoPro for certain runs, but I have run before. I don't do it anymore. I have run before carrying my Sony a7S III.
It's a piece of camera. It's not small.
No, dude, I've carried it for a whole 10-mile run before. I don't know why, but I've done that.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so we've talked about creator market fit. We've talked about storytelling as the second law. Stop selling, start telling. And really even powerful that you're like, very rarely are you even giving a call to action, or you're giving like a full-on conversion. Like, it's so much of your vision, your core values, your beliefs, creating curiosity. And you've built this, I mean, the last number I've seen is a 50 million a year, which may be higher now, company, which this seems counterintuitive. We're about to go to Law 3, but I'm also curious.
Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. The home with Duncan is where you want to be.
Americans, we can do anything we want, except one thing. We just can't stop being American. Nothing stops America, and nothing stops Ram.
We know it seems easier to just hide your scars, but with consistent daily use of Mederma, you can help fade old and new scars, along with your doubts, in as little as 8 weeks. See how progress is possible when you make Mederma a part of your routine.
seems counterintuitive. We're about to go to law 3, but I'm also curious, are you doing any paid traffic, or has this all been organic?
We do paid now. This year we'll do just north of 80 million in revenue. And I didn't start doing any paid advertising until 2017. So from 2012 to 2017, we weren't doing any paid advertising. Then we started doing some paid advertising. But those first 5 years, like to get the business, we got the business to about 1.7 million in revenue without any paid advertising. And that was all through organic content. That was through email campaigns. And then as we started growing and becoming more sophisticated, hired a VP of marketing, started working with different agencies on ad spend. We've learned a lot over the years. There have been times where we've been super inefficient with our paid marketing. We're in a chapter and season right now where we're extremely efficient with our paid advertising marketing. And it's probably the least amount we've spent on paid marketing in the last couple of years. Something we actually changed about 2 years ago, and this is something I feel very strongly about, but you can only do it if you have a really strong brand, is that I started hiring people who came from some of these brands out there that are consumer brands that take like the traditional playbook approach of you need this amount of pieces of UGC, and the UGC should look like this, and it needs to have this hook and this call to action, and it needs to say all these things, and it shouldn't feel or look like your organic brand, and you got to constantly be selling. And we took that approach, and we spent a lot of money on paid advertising, and we pushed it really hard, and it converted horribly. And our return on ad spend was a nightmare. We then made this shift a few years ago where we said we will not create any sort of paid advertising content that we would not put on our own organic platforms. And if you've seen BPN's organic platforms, we have a very, very strict standard for what we post in terms of brand content, product content, the look, the feel, the tone of voice, the messaging. So all of our paid advertising content pieces now look and feel just like it could live on our organic feeds. It is very on brand. It doesn't take the traditional playbook approach of using all this different UGC or diverse types of content pieces. Our conversion is the best it's ever been, and our ad spend is the lowest it's been in years. But we've had to learn the hard way of just testing, monitoring, auditing. I think it's really easy to spend money digitally, and these platforms tell you you're getting a certain return. But if you don't do your due diligence and actually learn how to measure that and find out what's incremental, you can be wasting a lot of money.
So much gold in this conversation. Move into the third law, and you've already unpacked some of your early story, but this one is true for you and essential in the creator economy. Start before you're ready, because waiting for perfectionism kills momentum. And so when you think back to the early days, learning as you went, what gave you the confidence to kind of start before you were ready? Did you feel ready? Were you just moving fast, breaking things in those early days? And why is that important for anybody listening that's starting something new?
I think I felt ready in the early days based off of ignorance and being naive. I truly thought, I told my team in 2016, 2017, it was me, my brother, and our friend Joe, who still works in the business. And I told them, and I believed it, I said, guys, we're one of the biggest supplement companies in the industry right now. We were doing 1.7 million in revenue. I thought we were competing with the big players in the game. But I was so bought in and believed in what we were doing so much that I believed that myself. But when I was building BPN in the early days, it was blinders on. I was looking to the left, I wasn't looking to the right. It was head down, build authentically, build what I want to build, and connect with an audience. And if I'm getting really good feedback from them, like, let's just keep doing that. And if you look back at some of my first pieces of content, like there's this one piece that I share every year, and it is me sitting at a table in a room above the garage of my parents' house, talking to a camera, I had this big BPN green poster behind me. I was stumbling over my words. I didn't know what I was saying. It was so difficult, awkward, challenging, and uncomfortable, but I knew that's what I had to do to get better and get to the next part, the next chapter. And I just stuck it out. Those first, maybe even couple hundred videos on YouTube I've ever posted are painful to go back and watch. So if anyone is afraid to get started, or they say, I'm just not good on camera, or I don't know how to use social media, neither does anyone else when they first get started. But that's what separates the people who make it somewhere and those who don't, is that you have to be willing to just jump in and sprint and run before you're ready. I heard this analogy a few weeks ago, and I loved it. It was on a podcast, and I can't remember which podcast it was. It might have been My First Million with Sam Parr. And he was talking about like people who want to be the best, and he was relating it to a marathon. Everyone says it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, which is true. You have to approach building a business, building a brand like it is a long-term play. But if you want to be the best, the best marathon runners in the world, Kipchoge, for example, go try to run a mile at Kipchoge's marathon pace. It is going to be a dead sprint for you. So just because you're taking the approach of it is a marathon, it's not a sprint, it doesn't mean you move any slower. Like, you still have to sprint in every chapter, every phase, every mile to keep up with the best.
I'm curious, before we move on to the next law, you've got a new book out, Go One More, Find the Clarity to Make Intentional Life-Changing Choices. And so much of success in any endeavor is coming back to these principles you share in this book. And so under the idea, what's one that comes to mind when you do think about the mindset necessary when we're starting before we're ready, waiting for perfectionism kills momentum? And we'll sort of go back to the book a little bit later, but maybe there's a story or an idea that comes from the book that ties in here.
I mean, one of my favorite quotes that's in the book, it's a chapter in the book, that my running coach, Jeff Cunningham, said a few years ago that has stuck with me ever since, is that it's better to be consistently good than occasionally great. And I tell people this all the time, and I say this very humbly, and there's a lot of awareness here. I believe that my greatest strength in life is my ability to be extremely consistent. Even if you look at me when I was younger, a child in high school, I was never the stud athlete. I never really stood out. There was nothing about me early on where someone said, that guy's going to build these platforms and this business one day. But I've always just been very consistently good. And that is my strength. I'm very consistently good. I do the things every day, every week, every month, every year that I know I need to do to get to where I want to be. I'm never going to have that year where it's just a blow up, Hail Mary year. But I know 10 years from today, I'm going to be much further than I am today. And I think a lot of people should take that approach, which is a hard approach to take because it truly does play the long game. But if you are willing to embrace and endure the process and show up consistently good rather than occasionally great, you will win massively in the future.
I love it. Okay, let's hit law number 4, which is turn your team into characters. So this started with you, but over the years, you've involved your team into the story. People followed really the movement you've built. How is your approach in thinking about a good story as multiple characters? And what has been your approach, Preston, Joe, other team members, thinking about sort of a team mentality and a brand mentality?
I mean, one of the things I've learned over time is that you can go really fast alone, but you can go so much further together. For starters, I don't want to build this business, and I don't want to live this life alone. No amount of money can make up for relationships and community and people in that journey, in that process. So I truly want to do this with a team. And I found that when you add that into your content strategy and people see it and they realize that it's real, they want to be a part of it as well. It's not just, hey, I'm following this one person, but I'm following this group of people, this family, and I'm now a part of that family from the outside looking in. One of my favorite things that Sam Parr actually ever said, and I think this was when he was on my podcast, he said, as a creator, and I think this is one of in a creator economy, this is one of the biggest pieces of information you can grab onto. There's a difference between having an audience and having a community. An audience is one to many. A community is many to many. As a creator, if you focus on building a community as opposed to an audience, one, you will experience more success. But as the creator, your brand, your success, your financial security does not rely on you consistently and constantly creating and doing more things, because the community is talking within themselves and creating on their own and sharing and spreading the word on your behalf. So that has become part of our strategy, and then also just part of our standard operating procedures of work.
And what's your philosophy when people kind of have different approaches, if they're going to include their kids, their wife, their family on social media? That's sort of maybe a self-awareness question. Some individuals don't include any of their personal life, others do. How would you coach somebody for maybe figuring out how they want to build their brand?
Yeah, that's a tough one. In the beginning,
Choose one appetizer and 2 entrees. Applebee's iconic 2 for $25.
Short-staffed, we all have to do a little bit more. That's why we switched to Dawn Professional. Its grease-cutting suds last 2 times longer, so we can wash double the pots in just one sink. Which means we can focus more on our famous baked ziti.
Dawn Professional Manual Pot and Pan.
Try Crest 3D White. Finally, a daily whitening toothpaste for whiter teeth in one day.
Want to take the next step with Entivio? Then it's time to talk to your healthcare provider. With Entivio, you may be able to pay as little as $5 per dose. Plus, our team can help connect you with additional support programs.
Entivio, Entivio, Entivio.
You don't have to make feet content to pay for your trip. Just use Kayak. Flights to Europe are cheaper this summer.
Really? Kayak.
that's a tough one. In the beginning, when I started creating content, it was just sharing everything. I just documented every part of it. So as my life progressed and I got married and we started a family and we had kids, and now I have 2 kids. I have a 3-year-old daughter and a almost 1-year-old son. That just naturally became part of the storytelling piece of my content in my life. And I think there are a bunch of different ways to approach this. And I will share why I continue to share and document my life, many parts of it in my story, in my family. I feel this massive responsibility as a creator, as a leader, as a content creator, business owner, role model, that I'm trying to inspire, guide, mentor, coach people who are in my same season of life, or people who are in a season of life behind me or even ahead of me that are trying to become fathers one day, partners, spouses, business leaders, coaches. And I feel this responsibility to share all those aspects, to show and say, you can be a very dedicated and committed professional who leads a team, who builds a business, who takes care of their body, but also has a foundation of faith and is a believer in God and is a strong, committed husband and father. And I feel this responsibility to be a role model in this space. That's why I continue to share all of those things.
Yeah, that's powerful. What are your thoughts before we move on? You've built such a strong personal brand, and there's so much, you're clearly like you're a founder-led brand. Russell Brunson talks about the attractive character, and in some cases, there's different approaches. Some CEOs might hire other talent or work with different individuals. They don't want to be on camera. Clearly, you're such a driver here. If you look far into the future, are you already thinking about succession and thinking about the limitation of being such a powerful personal brand? And how are you thinking decades ahead?
Absolutely. There is such a thing as key man risk. And as business develops and grows and you start exploring opportunities into the future, key man risk is a big issue. It's a blessing and a curse. There are pros and cons of being a founder-led business, especially a founder-led business who is also a content creator. So we have started implementing strategies the last couple of years, and we plan to have strong strategies going into the future of de-risking the business off of me. And as we brought on more athletes and partners and ambassadors who embody the brand just as much as I do, showcasing them, using them, and bringing them alongside our events, our activations, our content pieces, our storytelling, that has been extremely beneficial. And we measure actually a lot of that data through post-purchase surveys pretty regularly. So we had this survey we recently ran that showed 3 years ago, 80% of the new customers purchasing from BPN bought because they came across my content. We ran that same survey multiple times this past year, and it showed that 40% of the people who are buying from BPN are coming from my content. And if someone had an ego, they'd probably say, oh no, like pump more content with me. But I see that trend of data and I get jacked up because that shows our strategy is working. So I think you can build a brand off of a founder, maybe even a founder who's a content creator. I think that is a strong strategy initially, but there has to be a plan in place to de-risk that key man issue and diversify maybe at some point or years into the future. It's going to take a long time, has to be very intentional, very strategic, but it can work.
Let's go a little bit deeper in brand. Law number 5 is embody the brand. And you've touched on this and you're living it at the highest level, being the message, living the brand, not just talking about it, being about it. You said that the brand isn't just a motto, it's a mindset that you embody. And you're the embodiment of this Go One More movement. How do you keep alignment between personal life, content, and company culture?
So I read this book this past year that put a lot of things in perspective. It's one of my favorite business books I've ever read. It's BE 2.0 by Jim Collins. Chapter 4 is all about vision. And up until this past year, my vision for who BPN was and where we were going was all in my head. And I would share it audibly as much as possible, as frequently as possible, to everyone and anyone. But I didn't ever clearly define it. After reading this book, I think every entrepreneur, business owner, creator should read this book. Even if you're not in business, you can apply this to your family. There's 3 components to vision. It's core values, it's purpose, and it's goals. Core values and purpose should not change more than once every 100 years, and goals are 10 to 25-year targets. When I went through that vision creating experience and experiment, and I clearly defined all of those components, shared it with the team, it made everyone's job so much easier. It made their ability to make consistent decisions much simpler. It was easier to say yes to things, and it was much easier to say no to things. It created alignment throughout the entire business and our brand, from operations to marketing to social media to storytelling to product development. For me, interesting enough, the vision for the business is very closely aligned with my lifestyle that I live for myself and my family and our goals and what we want to do. And that's part of the leverage you have as a founder and CEO of your own business. But I believe you can apply that same vision, creating experience and experiment, not only to your business, your brand, what you're doing on social, what you're creating, but your family and your entire life. And I highly encourage it.
What do you think? You might just make up some, gut feeling observations of when you witness other businesses right now, maybe in your industry, maybe in the creator economy, how much lack of authenticity is there when it comes to this idea of brand? Because it feels like when talking to you, and I'm, a super fan of even just the products and BPN. So I've been able to witness and see the alignment and the authenticity over the years. Maybe the question is like, how much fake stuff do you think is out there, or how much, and I'm not saying there's even bad intent. Maybe people that just don't get it, or they're trying to copy somebody else. I don't know if the question's coming across clear. What do you think are the mistakes that people make in this by maybe trying to say they're a brand, but there's disconnection? I don't know if these ramblings are prompting any thoughts from you.
I don't think that the big issue is that people are trying to be inauthentic. I don't think they're trying to fake it. I really don't. I think most people want to build something that is strong and durable. It aligns with what they love and they're passionate about. My observation in so many of the brands out there, so many, is that they are lost and confused. They don't know who they are, who they're speaking to, or where they're heading. And that every opportunity is the right opportunity. We have been unfocused before, and when you are unfocused, it is the most dangerous place to be. One opportunity comes across your lap, and you don't want to say no to it because it's a great opportunity, so you take it. But if that opportunity does not align with that vision you have, your core values, your purpose, your goals, you should not pursue it. So I think so many people have not gone through the exercise of clearly defining their vision of where they're trying to get to. So they don't know what to work on, what their strategy is. You really can't create strategy or tactics if you don't have a vision. Everyone's working off of some other goal or metric, and there's not alignment. And I'd say most businesses are probably working towards 20 objectives. Strip that down to 3 to 5 and just hyper focus on those 3 to 5, and you will see massive return and success.
Genius. I didn't formulate the question necessarily great, but the answer turned out amazing. And so we're talking about embodying the brand. And this brings us to law number 6. Big bets get big attention. So some of the things that you've done, like high stakes, high commitment events or activations, have captured attention. And one just happened, the Backyard Ultra Marathon event. Individuals were running over 4 miles every hour on the hour. And this thing went viral. And I want to say the numbers, you might have the updated numbers, over 50,000 new followers in 72 hours, organic. Breakdown, no paid ads, pure creativity. What happened here? How did this come about? And in the intersection of maybe like there's kind of the marketing and branding lessons, but this is also just an overflow of who you are as doing this kind of Go One More movement. So break this story down.
Yeah, what did you say the title of this one was?
Big bets get big attention.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great observation. Before I get into the ultra, a few other things that really helped our growth over the years. One, when I said I was going to run my first sub 3-hour marathon, everyone said, you will not. There were threads all over the internet, all over Reddit, all over Let's Run saying, there's no way this guy's running sub 3. And guess what? I said I was going to run sub 3. I went out and tried it, and I ran 3:24. I missed it. And then I trained for a whole nother year, and then I got it. I got 2:56. But that grabbed so much attention because I threw this thing out there and said I was going to do it, and people doubted it. Again, one of my favorite quotes, belief comes before ability. And then when we started talking about hybrid athlete training and this combination of lifting heavy and running far, which was contradicting to the way so many people train and the lifestyle of fitness, that grabbed a lot of attention. There was a big bet, and we believed in it, and it had a big payoff. There were a few moments over the course of time where I went all in because I believed in it, and I saw the potential, and I saw the future, and it paid off.
Achieving real results for your business starts with asking the right people the right questions. Create expertly crafted surveys with powerful AI that analyzes data for you for insights that change everything.
Holy.
SurveyMonkey.
Swiffer Mop Deluxe is made for small spaces. The upgraded strip has 75% more scrubbing power. And with the new locking head, getting into tight spaces is simple.
Can I borrow it?
The all-new Swiffer Mop Deluxe, the mother of all cleans.
We are trying really hard to get you Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, but there is only so much we can do here. You're gonna have to meet us halfway. Well, the whole way, actually. And don't stop there. Try Caramel Big Cup.
Plan your finances with like-hearted people. Thrivent, where money means more.
Go one more ultra. This is actually a super interesting story of how we got to this point that I feel like I got to share. So last year, we decided we wanted to host an event. And we wanted to do something fun, different, exciting. So this race was going to be in a parking garage here in Austin. It was a relay race, a two-mile race, 4-person teams. So each person had to do 800 meters in the parking garage. And the years before we hosted events, there were lottery systems. We would have thousands of people sign up for these lotteries to be selected, randomly selected. For this race, this parking garage one in Austin, it was going to be fun. You didn't have to prepare for it. You would finish it and feel fresh. You know, that you weren't going to be hurt or damaged. It was just supposed to be light, fun, and engaging. We launched signups for it thinking that thousands of people were going to sign up like they have for our previous races historically. I think there were like 26 people who signed up. Huge failure. What we learned through that experience, though,